All right, hello YouTube. This is Dark Tower Palaver. I am Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for a roundtable, 117 as you can see on the screen here. Starting a little early on the live stream, but I don't know. It's worth starting a little bit early, I suppose.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, we're here. We've just came off a book club last episode, as well as in the YouTube feed, you will find our reaction to the Firestarter trailer, which is our first, I guess, YouTube length. I don't know, like video. Everything else so far is
YouTube exclusive.
Yeah, and it is a YouTube exclusive as well. So, it's YouTube length as well as exclusive to YouTube. It's our first full-on YouTube content. It is us reacting to the Firestarter trailer, which we will talk more about as we get into the actual podcast here. But keep an eye on that, as well as keep your eye open for some more YouTube exclusive content coming soon, as well as trailers coming down the road, as well as we have a few ideas for some content YouTube wise, so keep an eye out for that, and then let's go ahead and just hit the intro and get started on the podcast so we can get fully started here. I don't want to talk too much stuff here in the YouTube intro because the podcast people will have to be filled in as well. So let's go ahead and hit the awesome intro and get going.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for episode 117, Roundtable 117. So yeah, we have a couple things on the calendar for this episode. So let's hit the calendar stuff even before the intro, just because we got all kinds of fun stuff coming up. I want to make sure everybody's aware, because I don't even know if we've announced everything yet. So in the near future here, we got this episode we're going to be doing in our Palaver section. We're going to be showing our finalized top 16 for our most beloved Dark Tower characters March Madness that will be starting on March 1st. So you guys will be able to see what that final bracket looks like. And then voting starts here in a number of days. What is it? Tuesday, I think, is the first. So
is that when it starts? Is that when we're kicking it off?
Yep, and we'll cover that as well in the Palaver section. But we're definitely excited about that. Had a lot of input and feedback from everyone. And the next episode on the 12th of March, we have Roundtable 118. In that one, we'll be doing our discussion on Stephen King characters that deserved better. I believe that's top 4. Is that what we did, or was it 4 or 5? I don't remember now.
I think you were worried about having 4. Having 5. So you said...
I think you originally you had said like top 10, and I thought that was too much. So
yeah.
I think we may have went down to 5 because 4 doesn't make sense. 4 isn't logical. So that we have that one coming up on the 12th. Then we have a book club on the 26th, and then when we come back on the 9th of April, we'll have Roundtable 119, which we will be diving back into the Dark Tower comics, which we haven't done in a couple years. We started into that, but we never, the movie kind of torpedoed it. So we will basically start back over, because honestly, who can remember that long ago? So we'll just start back over with the Gunslinger Born, I believe, is the first issue. So we'll kind of cover those, and it won't be the whole episode. We'll have other normal stuff as well, but the Palaver section, we will have the Dark Tower comics covering then on that episode. So that's what we have upcoming. In terms of all the future shows here. So let's go ahead and dive into the intro stuff real quick. Hello, Mike, Carol, Agamorphy in the chat. Appreciate you guys being with us. So first of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so we do spoil things fairly regularly, especially Dark Tower wise. I do know that we are going to be talking some Firestarter, kind of a follow up. Also, as for the people listening on the podcast, if you go over to our YouTube channel, we have our first YouTube exclusive content, which was Peter and I reacting to the Firestarter trailer. That was just a short YouTube video where we just did kind of the reaction video stuff. In this episode, though, we'll have some more deeper thoughts on it. So there will probably be some spoilers for that one. I don't know if there's anything else outside of Dark Tower, though, but if you haven't finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to stick to our book club episodes, because these episodes, roundtables, tend to get into spoilers all the time, and it isn't necessarily even on purpose. It just happens. So definitely be wary. On our book club episodes, we now have a spoiler section, but that is held to the very end of the episode, and it probably accounts for maybe 5% of the episode. So you could listen to 95% of those. At the very end, we'll give you a lot of warnings to let you know that we're about to enter the spoiler section. If you haven't finished the series yet, you can stop there and then move on, and you will have nothing spoiled, because most of those episodes we stay where we're at or before. We don't jump forward and spoil things. Next up, we have, if you want to find us, you can find us on a number of places like Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find us on any podcasting service. You can also, and if you can, subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those services that allow that. We appreciate that. Find the show notes over at darktowerpalaver.com. There we have our new, as well as just our normal stuff for all of our episodes. You'll have all of our show notes for our episodes, like for this episode, for instance. All the things that I cover will be linked there, so if you want to go over and check out the articles that we're covering, you can find it over there, as well as like last episode, you could, or actually this episode, I guess we'll have to put it on because the Firestarter trailer came out in between episodes. So we will put like a link to the YouTube for that Firestarter trailer that we will be discussing a little bit later. Find that over the show notes, as well as the questions for new listeners. If you're a new listener, we we first of all welcome you to our extended quartet. And what we find in the books a lot of times is when people join the quartet, they tell their stories to each other. And our questions are kind of ones that we've developed over the years here as a way to kind of introduce yourself both as a King fan and as a Dark Tower fan. So find those questions over there at darktowerpalaver.com. You can send those in to us. You can answer one of them. You can answer all of them. You can answer as many or as little as you like, or you can just ignore all of them and just send us an email and introduce yourself however you want. But we find those are fun questions to answer for a lot of people. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. That's always a lot of fun. In fact, the Discord server is always fun to torment Peter throughout the week and stuff.
Yeah,
plenty of talk about symbol monkeys and all that kind of fun stuff on there. So which I
hashtag you all are terrible.
And then let's see. Next up, we have our contact information. If you'd like to reach out to us, Peter can let you know the best ways to do that.
Best way to reach us is, like Tad said, is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then we have our content here. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. So we don't just stream our shows now. We are producing YouTube exclusive content, like the Firestarter trailer reaction video. And there is going to be more coming as we develop that side of it.
Yeah.
And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. Our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word with no spaces. And then if you want any merchandise, you can check us out at tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. We got the original logo and then the alternate one with hashtag Ted is terrible. The better one.
The slanderous one, of course. How dare you?
No.
How dare
great.
you?
It's great.
So yeah, let's go ahead and dive on in. We've had a couple, like I said, mentioned earlier, we had a book club last time, so we have a little bit of news going back a little ways now. We're almost the end of February, but we actually had our episode was on the 30th or so of January.
Yeah.
So we have at least a little bit from the very end of January, last day of January. So let's go ahead and dive on in. The first thing we have is some castings. And the headline here is Yellow Jackets, Sophie Thatcher, and Chris Messina starring an adaptation of Stephen King's short story Boogeyman for 20th Century. which is crazy now because they've changed it. So now 20th Century, it's just 20th Century. That's the name of the studio.
Instead of 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, that's just hard because I've been saying 20th Century Fox for my whole life. So now for them to change it, I mean, I understand, they want to like distance themselves from other brands that have the Fox name, but it's definitely weird to just see 20th Century. In fact, there as I was reading it, I almost thought, wait, I typoed there. I left off a bit of the name, but no, I didn't. So this is by Justin Kroll from Deadline on January 31st, 2022. And as a throwback, we did discuss this one, the Boogeyman, on episode 113, I believe. And with that, we found this is one of the short stories from the Night Shift, and it is one that has not been adapted before. So let's go ahead and dive in what this says here. Exclusive, Sophie Thatcher, who is coming off her breakout role in hit Showtime series Yellow Jackets, and Chris Messina are set to star in 20th Century Studios' adaptation of Stephen King's short story The Boogeyman, with 21 Laps producing. The film will debut on Hulu, with Rob Savage set to direct. 21 Lapses' Sean Levy, Dan Levine, and Dan Cohen are producing. Production is expected to start next month, which would be this month, because this was on January 31st. So if this indeed is panned out as it says here, they are likely in production as we speak. So then it goes on and says, The Boogeyman was published in 1978 as part of the Night Shift collection of short stories that King wrote over the years for magazines. It is a collection... it was collected in the best-selling anthology and published the year after The Shining became a huge bestseller for the author. This will be the 10th short story in the 20 short story collection to be turned into either a feature film or TV movie.
Wait, say that again?
This is the 10th of 20. So there's 20 short stories in Night Shift. This is the 10th one now to be made into either a feature film or a television, well, it says TV movie, so maybe they haven't done any TV series based off of it. Among the others are Children of the Corn, Maximum Overdrive, The Mangler, and Sometimes They Come Back. So that's some of the ones they call out there. I can't remember if we mentioned on the show, but I'm actually kind of bummed because Audible-wise, Night Shift has not been made.
Right.
I think there is a abridged version that is available, not in the United States, but I think I found it it was available in the UK potentially when I did some searching for it, which is crazy because I didn't think King allowed abridged versions of his work. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't had an unabridged version potentially with a lot of big actors voicing some of the stuff. But it's definitely one if you want to read now, you have to go the old-fashioned way and buy a book or middle of the road and go ebook and read. There is no audio version, but that is one that I'm going to have to dive into at some point because I don't know, the short stories are fun. You're now into the short stories. I think we talked about that on the last episode. You read which one?
Oh, now you put me on the Night Shift.
No, Night Shift's the one that is not on audio.
That's the one that we're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
let me see if I can pull it up on
everything's eventual.
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew.
Okay.
I was like, everything.
And you finished it, right?
Yeah, everything's eventual was what was stuck in my head.
Okay.
For some reason. No, I did finish Skeleton Crew.
Okay. It looks like I'm on the wrong account here, but I can check off Skeleton Crew for you now. And Skeleton Crew is probably one of King's best short story collections. So yeah, that's obviously fun. I guess that's where the Symbol Monkey has come into play.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you finished that, so now you're into it. You've also done If It Bleeds, which is obviously a shorter one, but is still certainly a short story collection. So what are you thinking so far?
Like
short story wise,
they're great. Everything that you want in King, but different stories.
Have you ran into it yet where you're like, I want this to continue on? Like,
yeah,
it's a short story, but you're like, I want this to be like a 200, 300, 400 page novel.
Oh, there was one in Skeleton Crew that it was really short, and I'm like, God, I want more of this.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. I was going to go look at which ones were in Skeleton Crew to kind of refresh my memory.
Yeah.
Because I started Hearts in Atlantis just recently.
Which is another one that actually technically is a short. Well, it's not even. I would say it has a couple novellas in it, but it's a little bit different because, I don't know. They're kind of connected. It's kind of different than normal short story collections. The Mist was kind of a novella. The Monkey was obviously in there. Here There Be Tigers was a great one. Yeah. Let's see, The Jaunt. That was great. The Raft.
The Jaunt. That was the one that I really wanted more of.
Yeah.
Because the world building is me and you were both a huge fan of that. where if you expand the lore and stuff like that, it's always so much better when you get that. It's not the side. I mean, it's not the main dish. It's the sides.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just so juicy and so tasty.
Yeah.
So the jaunt with teleportation and everything like that, they colonized Mars off of it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I want more from this world.
Well, that is one that's being made into a miniseries.
Yeah,
or a series.
It is being made into a series. And I was like, at first, I was taken aback. I was like, how are you going to do a series out of that story? And then I'm like, wait, you got this whole world that you can build.
Yeah.
So I was pretty excited when you told me that.
Well, I mean, of course, you want more of Survivor type too, right?
Yeah. That was no.
King's the one that he has said is the most brutal thing he's ever written.
God, that one is dark.
Oh man, yeah, that's a brutal one. That one is actually adapted on, I think it was the animated Creep Show on Shudder. I think
really?
They did like an animated I think it was like a holiday thing of some kind. I don't know if it's for Halloween or for Christmas, but so I think Survivor Type was one of the ones they did on that animated one. So that should be fun, I would imagine. I do need to jump back into that Creep Show. I didn't actually take it down for this. I should have put it in the odds and ends, but I did see something saying that Shudder is extended Creep Show for a 4th season. So it's going strong.
You say Creep Show, and all I think about is Crate Monkey.
as you should.
No.
So then, going on here, it says the original short story was truly scary and dealt with a man's visit to a psychiatrist, where he recounted how his children were each killed by the title character, which that sounds fun.
Boogeyman.
The story follows a teenage girl who's still reeling from the tragic death of their mother and finds herself and her brother plagued by a sadistic presence in their house and struggles to get their grieving father to pay attention before it is too late.
Jeez.
So that has all the classic stuff when it comes to kids and horror, is you get the kids to where their parents won't believe them or won't pay attention to them. That seems like the classic trope for kids in horror. So
yeah,
like Chucky. I mean, nobody ever believes that Chucky's actually coming alive and trying to kill people.
I would.
Or not trying. I mean, he is killing people.
Yeah.
So everyone then suspects that, like, oh, no, it couldn't be this doll alive. No, of course, his 8-year-old's murdering people. You know, that's way more logical. And then it goes on and says, Thatcher is coming off her acclaimed role as young Natalie in the hit Showtime series Yellow Jackets, and became one of the biggest breakthroughs in the cast full of rising talents. She's also recently seen in the Book of Boba Fett for Disney+. Messina had himself a busy 2021, starring in Netflix's thriller I Care a Lot. His film called Jane premiered at Sundance this month. Also stars for Elizabeth Banks and Sigourney Weaver. Next up for him is Star's Watergate series Gaslight, that also stars Sean Penn and Julia Roberts. So he's got a lot of stuff coming up. But yeah, so those are our first castings for Boogeyman.
When this first came up and I was reading like the title here on YouTube, I thought Yellow Jackets was a story by Stephen King. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I've never heard of this.
Yeah, and I actually, when Yellow Jackets first came out, for some reason, it just sounds like a superhero thing to me. But it's not. It's like a girls' soccer team and their plane crashes on an island or something.
Yeah.
So I've heard it's really good. I was waiting for it to finally be finalized and maybe do like a Showtime trial period and maybe binge through it, because I've heard it may be one of the better shows on TV right now. So so that is some casting for Boogeyman, and that is probably in production now as we speak, if this article is correct, that was starting quote-unquote next month, which would have been February. So it means they're probably in their full swing of production now. So next up, and this is actually a fun one, because we actually had a tease of this.
I never like when you say that, because usually it means fun for you to watch me squirm.
No, this is one that you'll enjoy. But no, this is fun because actually King teased this. I think it was when they were doing the publicity for Lizzy's story. Okay. And he mentioned working with J.J. Abrams and the Bad Robot Company, the Bad Robot crew. And he talked about, because they had done a lot, they've done 11/22/63, Castle Rock, Lizzy's story. And then King very mysteriously and cryptically said that he might have another project in the works with Bad Robot.
Right.
So that is now ready to be announced.
Oh.
And this headline is Hot Package. J.J. Abrams, Stephen King, Ed Zwick, and Marshall Herkovitz team on limited series adaptation of bestseller Billy Summers.
Oh, shit.
So we actually mentioned this on our last roundtable, that we were both kind of shocked that Billy Summers hadn't been picked up yet.
When later had.
So many, because later had, I mean, the Institute was picked up before published.
Yeah.
Like that was signed to an adaptation
Right.
before it even came out. I think it was like the week before it released. So
yeah, and
which
later was right around when it
Instantaneous.
was released. Like it became a bestseller, and then it's like, yep, it's signed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, so we were both kind of scratching our heads as to why Billy Summers hadn't yet, but it looks like maybe it was already in the works since King teased us with that, late last year sometime during Lizzy's story, which was probably in almost the fall, wasn't it? Even earlier than winter when Lizzy's story was coming out and stuff, and that's when King was doing a lot of interviews and stuff. So, yeah, this has probably been booked well in advance. We're just only hearing about it now. So this is by Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline on February 1st, 2022. And this says exclusive. J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot is putting together a limited series package based on Stephen King's best-selling novel Billy Summers. Ed Zwick and Marshall Herkovitz will adapt. Deadline hears with Zwick directing what will likely be 6 to 10 episodes.
Good.
So
good.
Yeah, I think that would work for the story that Billy Summers has. I think that's one you could easily do. I mean, what it was, The Outsider, was that 8 episodes?
I thought it was 10.
Was it 10?
I thought it was. I'll check real fast.
It's been a while. I was actually kind of thinking about Ben Mendelsohn recently. I think I threw something out on our Discord server on that, as a matter of fact.
I know you threw something on your social media.
Oh, that's what it
personal
was. That's what it was. Yeah,
you threw out a thing saying Ben Mendelsohn should be.
He's just
everything.
Yeah, he's the best. He should be in everything.
And I threw out we'll just do a random one here. I threw out, okay, who is he in the Dark Tower?
And yeah, I think Ben Mendelsohn, man, he could be a Roland. I could easily see him being a Roland. But I just love him in everything. And yeah, for some reason, going down that thought trail with him, as well as watching some highlights from some movies he's done recently, made me kind of wonder if I want to dive back in and watch The Outsider again. It's been a while. So I was thinking about rewatching that again.
It is 10 episodes.
10? Okay.
It is 10 yeah. I was
I
was
guess
doubting it for myself, but it's HBO.
Yeah.
So that's classic HBO right there. For
10, yeah.
I mean, Band of Brothers, Pacific, that The Outsider.
Yeah.
Those three instantly come to my mind of 10 episode length.
Yeah.
limited series.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely cool to see. Billy Summers is getting 6 to 10 episodes. It says the package will be shopped shortly to high-end cable networks and streamers. So this is one that is not necessarily signed to a studio. This is being basically developed by Bad Robot, and then they're hoping to sell it to someone else, to a studio of some kind. And it says this will be Bad Robot's latest series of adaptations with King after Lizzy's story, Castle Rock, and 11/22/63. Billy Summers is a hitman who is looking to retire and take one last highly lucrative job to feather his nest. Which that's a fun turn of phrase there, feather his nest. The job requires him to embed himself in a quiet town where he pretends to be an aspiring writer. And then in parentheses, it says he actually pours himself into the prose. And then it goes on and says he sets up in an office with a direct view of where hitman Joel Allen will be delivered to face trial for shooting 2 men during a poker game. Allen has also committed enough murders for some high-level mobsters to be scared the gunman will incriminate his former employers to lessen his sentence. Summers, a meticulous craftsman, becomes more and more cynical about the mobsters who have hired him, and his skepticism is well warranted as things go awry following the job's completion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a fun one, fun book. I enjoyed the hell out of both of them that King did last year.
Yeah.
And then it says there is no comment from Bad Robot, but sources expect this package to move quickly. So this is probably not going to be one that'll linger out there and go unpurchased for a long period of time.
Billy's kind of like a middle-aged guy. He's not young, right?
I pictured him kind of younger. I mean,
not like what I'm picturing. What I mean by young
I'd say
is
like
20s.
No, I'd say like our age into the 40s maybe. Like, cause, I mean, he
mid 30s to early 40s.
Yeah, definitely old for a guy that would have served in the military as well as then become a hitman for that's not necessarily a lifestyle that leads to a long life. So I would say maybe older for his his experiences, but no, I don't think he's like a guy in his 50s or 60s by any means. So
who are you going to cast as Billy Summers if you're in charge?
Oh man, I mean Ben Mendelsohn.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh man, I mean Ben is not necessarily Gary Oldman that can just become anybody and anything.
Gary Oldman could play a plant.
Yeah, I mean he probably has. I mean we probably. I mean who plays the plant in Leon the Professional? Probably Gary Oldman. He probably played 2 roles in that movie.
Oh, he had 3 roles in that movie. He was also the refrigerator.
No, the pig mitt. Yes, and because Gary Oldman could do all of those
Yeah.
things. Mike in the chat says Ben Mendelsohn should play Stephen King in The Dark Tower.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, yeah, he could play King. Although I think Joe Hill.
Joe Hill. After that picture, where was that picture? Was that on Discord?
I can't remember.
was that-
I think I posted on just my normal social media.
I
but
can't keep them straight.
You know,
which one's which?
Legit, because there's a picture that somebody put out that's Joe Hill and Stephen King back in the day. Probably would have been the 70s or 80s. You could tell by the ancient computer. And then on the other side is Joe Hill. Both men are leaning back in their chair with their feet up on the desk. Both of them have a corgi underneath them, and both of them have a legal pad on their lap as they're writing. And honestly, for the first bit, before I really started looking at the backgrounds, I didn't know which was which. I'm like, that's both. They're both Stephen King. Like,
That's what I thought too.
That's like Joe Hill's not here because I can't remember where I found it, but it said like Joe Hill and his father, Stephen King, and I was like, no, this is just Stephen King and
That's
Stephen
just
King.
Stephen King.
And then as I look closer and closer, I'm like, dear God, oh my God. So yes, Joe Hill is a exact replica of his father.
Yeah.
Like insanely. Like I feel like we looked at some pictures way back, like a year or two, maybe two ago, of Joe Hill and said he looked a lot like him. He is way more like him now.
Yeah.
Like insanely. I think he has like a beard, which King had there for a while as well too. But yeah, Joe Hill would be the easiest. Like literally, it's kind of like what's his name from the Marvel movies and Mark Hamill, that look exactly alike.
Oh, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Shit, what's his name? Clint Barnes. Not Clint Barnes. Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky. Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian
Stan looks exactly like Mark Hamill back in the day. So
He does.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. So I don't know if Joe Hill can act, but if he can, I think he should have the first right of first refusal for the role of Stephen King in the which now Mike's saying, can he act? That's the true question, certainly. But
It's about time we find out. Let's get a Dark Tower series going.
yeah, because he looks just like him. It's insane. I'll actually find that picture and put it in the show notes so everyone can see it as well. Because I did. I was like, I had to like study it for a bit, and then when I actually started seeing the background stuff, I realized like the one on the right was like, oh, that's Stephen King. Like back in like probably the, I don't know, what would you say, 80s, maybe 70s, even with that computer.
Early 80s is what I would say.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have a picture taken like that if it wasn't. And that computer, let's be honest, that computer's going to cost a pretty penny. That's probably after he hit it big with The Shining.
Oh yeah, certainly is. But then again, his Shining came out in the late 70s. So
That's what I'm saying. Early 80s when he's really prolific and really hitting that first stride and everything like that with all those novels in the first, early 80s where you have stuff like what is it, like Cujo and Firestarter.
That first golden age of King.
That first
started
first 10 years of King,
which started with The Shining. I mean, his first two books weren't necessarily failures; they both did well. But The Shining was the first massive hit that he had. So that's the point when it was like, and then it like retroactively made the first two novels bestsellers as well, because the people then after they read The Shining went back and reread Carrie and Salem's Lot. So pretty crazy stuff. I mean, and I know the whole idea. It's like, oh, it's genetics. Like, kids look like their parents and stuff. Like it shouldn't be like something that's startling, but at the same time, there's like looking like your parent a little bit versus like to the point where like legitimately when I first saw that picture, I'm like, where's Joe Hill? Like, he's not here.
Why did they put two pictures of Stephen King?
Yeah, there's two pictures of King.
You hold up two of them. I want you to find the difference between these two pictures. It's the same picture.
It's the same picture, pretty much. Indeed. So yeah, it does come down to if he can act, certainly. Agamorphy says Joe Hill made a cameo in Lock and Key. His acting ability is pretty much matches Stephen King's. And that's the thing is like, does he really have to act like? Because that's the other thing is a lot of mannerisms and like things you inherit from your parents, even if it's unconscious. Vocal tics. There's just different things that you just pick up from your parents. So like, does he really have to act, or does he just have to like be himself insofar as himself he actually reflects his father, which I would be if I was a betting man, I would say he probably does. So
I saw a video literally this morning with what you're talking about. It was a little, year-old baby that every time the dad sits down, he does the dad side, and so she sat down, like a little. It's what you're talking about. They mimic their parents, and I actually caught my daughter doing something that my wife does, and I was just like, could you not.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't think a lot of times it's caught, but I've noticed a lot when I'll meet someone and then I'll meet someone, then later I'll meet like a kid of theirs or something, and like there's just small things that you'll notice where it's just like, oh yeah, you got that from your dad, like, and it could even just be things as much as like vocal tics and stuff. So very weird. All right, so then the last episode I actually forgot because we had another announcement on the last episode, and I forgot to put up our board. So this board, it was later. So this board we're throwing it up again, and now we have added Later and Billy Summers. So both of King's 2021 things are both now in adaptation country. Both of them looking like they will be TV adaptations. So this is our updated list. I believe Boogeyman is already up there. Is it? Or did I miss that one?
No,
too?
it's on the bottom right of film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is. The Boogeyman. So cool. So we got that on so we are up to date on this now. So yeah, Later and Billy
That's
Summers.
so much.
That is. I mean, Firestarter's coming right along here, coming out in a number of months. Salem's Lot is in September. And then beyond that, we have not really had a whole lot of updates on a lot of these other ones. So I don't know. What are you most excited for that we haven't seen a lot about? Like basically from Salem's Lot on, which ones are most intriguing to you?
I'm not gonna lie. I was just talking about the Jaunt. That one's up there. Billy Summers and Later because they're so fresh. We just read those in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Or so.
And ditto for me.
Yeah.
That I read in the last 6 months. The Talisman.
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
excited for the Talisman.
I was about to start that one, and then you reminded me we got to do Hearts in Atlantis for our Patreon, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'll put that on hold and everything.
Which, by the way, I also just found last night as I was searching through HBO Max. Hearts in Atlantis is on HBO Max.
Is it?
So when
Okay.
when you're done with the whole thing,
I can watch
you
it.
can watch that. And I actually have never seen that, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
with
okay.
Anthony Hopkins and Anton Yelkin playing little Bobby Garfield.
Yeah.
So, which of course you know Anton from
Chekhov.
Yeah, Chekhov from the newer Star Treks.
Yeah.
He's been in, he was Kyle Reese in that horrible Terminator movie.
Was he really?
The
bad one, Salvations.
yeah, the one that's all in the future.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Terrible.
But yeah, he played. Yeah, he's great.
The other one that I'm really excited for on this list is I'm not gonna lie. I watched The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm kind of intrigued by the concept of it. Like when we talked about it a little bit, which got me kind of interested. So I need to go pick up the audiobook of that and listen to that.
That one is Edgar Wright, isn't it?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, we've already covered that Running Man.
Yeah, we covered it and everything. And
I think that's Edgar
I don't
Wright.
think that anything like big had been announced.
Yeah,
except
Edgar
for-
Wright will direct.
Yeah, Edgar Wright.
So
he's good.
He's
so
great, man. Yeah,
that's gonna be really interesting with that one. So
yeah.
I'm okay. I'll flip it on its head for you. I mean, first answer which ones are. I mean, Talisman is yours.
Talisman's the one that really jumps out at me. I'm trying to think. Probably Mr. Harrigan's Phone. We've seen a lot on that. Probably of the later ones, that's probably the one that we've seen the most about in terms of castings and everything else. Plus, I just think that was a really fun story. And then, yeah, probably like Later is probably really high on my list just because
I know how much you love Later.
Yeah, that one blew me away.
All
So,
right, which one are you looking at and going, yeah,
are
Are there any that you look at and you're like, I mean, I know there's ones on here that you haven't read. Same with me.
yeah.
But is there any one that you look on here and you just kind of go,
Ones I've read. I don't know if I'm as excited about the new Pet Cemetery thing. Like I think it has some potential because
Yeah.
it's gonna tap into some stuff that the book covered that has yet to be covered in any of the films.
world building?
Like kind of the world building, the earlier stuff, and I think that could be really good. But I just feel like we've seen so much of the Pet Cemetery already that it's like, I don't know. I hope it's good, but I'm kind of more guarded on that.
The thing I've noticed about horror, and I'm going to see if you agree with this. The thing I've noticed about horror is that when you give me horror and you don't world build, it seems like it's better. Look at Saw.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Look at Saw.
yeah. Generally speaking, it's always scarier if you don't explain it.
Exactly.
But I think when it comes to something like this, though, I don't think you'd explain it as much as you. It's kind of like what I've been saying. Like my thought process is they should do another It, because I think you could do an entire It that's just all of the past stuff, and that's not explaining Pennywise so much as now traveling through time with Pennywise. And I think I think it's the same thing with Pet Cemetery. You don't even have to explain it as much as you're just. Let's see what Pet Cemetery has done to people over the years, and I think that's a cool premise. Like, don't try to explain it in any kind of stupid way or whatever, but just show me like what did it look like in the 1800s, what did it look like in the whatever.
Do a True Detective season 3 kind of thing where it's like the reporter's trying to get answers kind of thing. Do that with Mike Hanlon with It, where he's doing the interviews and stuff like that.
Well,
Like the Bradley gang and the French massacre in the pub and everything.
Well, I mean, you don't throw that just on number 3 because season 1 was also jumping all over the place timeline wise.
Well, I was just thinking of like the reporter asking the detectives questions. That's what I was kind of thinking. Is like Mike fills that role.
Yeah, season 1 was more of the cops interviewing everyone involved.
Oh,
and stuff.
I guess that's true.
But it bounced around in time too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Which I loved. I think that was one of the coolest things of True Detective. Of course, there is no season 2 of that for some reason. They just magically.
I know. Why did they go? Why are they just doing odd numbers? It's weird. And they're like Star Trek. But for me, I'm in the same boat with you, man. I don't know if I want a TV show about Carrie.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Like,
I guess that's right. I would have I step that back and say Pet Cemetery because of what they're doing intrigues me. Carrie, that one I would actually change it and say yeah, you're right. Carrie's one where it's like feel like it's never you're never going to top the original.
What world building can you really do with that story?
Yeah,
if Carrie's like a one-off freak of nature kind of thing, are you going to build it to where there's other telekinesis people in the world,
or is it just going to be expanding the Carrie story across a miniseries potentially? I don't know.
Yeah, that one for me is where I'm like,
especially because we've already had one readaptation of that story.
2.
So, well, you had the original, then you had the one in 2019?
Yeah, but we also had a made-for-TV movie that was remade in like 2002.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's 3 iterations of this, plus a couple sequels on a couple of them. And it's just like, I mean, are we really going to dig up this grave for more money? Like,
Yeah, beyond that, though, I don't know if there's any that really jump out at me. I mean, Tommy Knockers, I know, is probably one you're not looking forward to.
I don't know why you left it blank below the rat. There's nothing there for some reason.
But yeah, beyond that, there's none. I guess from a Buick 8, it's kind of strange. Like, I'm intrigued to what they might do with it, but Cosmic Horror is so hard to do that I'm kind of worried that one might not turn out as well as some of the others. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Talisman now that I've read it. That one looks really fun, and then later would probably be the top ones for me, excluding Salem's Lot and Firestarter because those are both coming out this year. So
yeah, because your question on which one we're most excited with was which ones that we haven't heard that much about.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we're saying just blanket, which one are we most excited about? Of course, I'm most excited about Firestarter. And, you know how much I love that book.
And I would say The Running Man just because the Edgar Wright thing would be high up there for me as well, as because like Edgar Wright is just so good at what he does. No matter what he does, he's just great. So I would love to see him take on King as well as take on that story. Should be fun to see.
Agamorphy says, I keep hoping for a dark straight from the book Running Man.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I heard when we talked about Running Man when we covered it a couple episodes ago, is that the book is just so good and so like dark and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, I need to check this out because I remember watching Running Man. You know, that was one of those rated R movies that was in the house that I shouldn't have watched, that I watched when no one was home.
You should have watched.
According to my parents, I shouldn't have watched.
And then Mike, talking, I guess, going back to the Joe Hill stuff, says, let's hope he doesn't try directing, LOL. So I'm guessing Joe Hill must have tried his hand at directing, not done well.
Or he's talking about Stephen King directing, and he doesn't want him to follow.
Joe Hill did say he wanted to do a Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, that's right, he did.
He did say he would love to try that. So that would be interesting, especially because he basically now is his dad, apparently.
Apparently.
I also did. This isn't a Joe Hill podcast, so I didn't put it on the notes. But I did see that The Fireman, which is the other one that I bought when I bought Nosferatu to dive into Joe Hill. I haven't read it yet, but that apparently is getting an adaptation now of some kind. So Joe Hill seems like his stuff is starting to get made, and maybe we're getting into the Joe Hill golden age. So I do need to expand into him a little bit more because I did like Nosferatu. I got to read The Fireman, and I do want to see The Black Phone, so maybe I'll have to read that short story as well, or novella as well.
You're going to read it before you see the movie? Because I know you're seeing the movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, generally speaking, my rule is to see the movie first and then read it after. So, yeah. But I do want to dive into Joe Hill a little bit because I've enjoyed what I've read so far. And then Agamorphy says Hill should play Stephen King in the later episodes of Dark Tower if the series ever gets made. And I agree. As long as he can act, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then Mike says no Maximum Overdrive. I don't know. I mean, who knows if Joe Hill's on enough cocaine to do that movie? Let's be honest, right? Like that's really what it comes down to. Is
Copious amounts of cocaine.
yeah, is he coked out of his mind? Yes, then we can do Maximum
All right, let's
Overdrive.
do it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump to the next thing now that we have our thing updated there. As you mentioned, though, yes, it is getting quite full. There's a lot of stuff coming. And who knows, some of this stuff isn't in active development as much as others are. So some of these things, who knows, they may be dead. We haven't seen any news articles to say that. But I don't even know if all of these are necessarily in active development. They're just ones that we've covered articles about the initial starting of development. Mm-hmm. So who knows? Next up, got an article here. It is after Billy Summers and later news, another Stephen King TV show just got a huge update.
Oh, okay.
And this is from Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on February 3rd, 2022. And he says, we may only be a little over a month into 2022, but already Stephen King fans have a hell of a lot to celebrate when it comes to news about Stephen King adaptations. In the last week alone, we've learned that King's 2 most recent books, Later and Billy Summers, are in the process of getting the miniseries treatments. And now it has been announced that Epic's series Chapelwaite, based on the short stories Jerusalem's Lot, has been renewed for a second season.
Oh.
So... pretty cool. I've started Chapelwaite, but I have not finished it yet. This may have to inspire me to go in and finish that off and be ready for season 2. It says Chapelwaite, created by Peter and David Filardi, debuted last August with a 10-episode run, and it has been given a green light by the network to keep its story going. The official announcement for Season 2 reveals that the ancient evil thought vanquished in the finale is not yet destroyed, and that evil tome, known as the Verimus Mysterious, is alluring to a new generation of vampires, is the quote there. So, and that's always fun. Let's get some vampires attracted to things. That should be fun.
Vampires are like borderline beasties. No.
That's what I told you when I was watching Midnight Mass. I was like, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there's some beastie vibes going on here. In those first couple episodes before you really know what's going on, like, it certainly felt very beastie.
Shit, like the first episode, like the first 10 minutes, you get one of those, like, beastie, like, look up and you're like, huh, that bush looks kind of fun. Oh my God, it's moving.
And let's be honest. We're going to give Midnight Mass the honorary Stephen King universe stamp
It's
of
a
approval.
Flanagan.
But did it not the whole time? There was times I had to like stop myself and think like, wait, Tad, this is not a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah.
This is just a Flanagan doing his own thing. Like,
No,
this has nothing to do with Stephen King.
That's what I'm saying is that Flanagan doing Flanagan is a lot of times very Stephen King-esque.
Yeah.
Someone better... Have we ever seen Flanagan and King together in the same room? Are we sure that they're not the same person?
Well, as long as Flanagan does the Dark Tower series, I'll be happy. Let's get him on that.
Tad, don't get my hopes up like that. Damn.
Then it says, for those who have not watched Chapelwaite, the series is set in the middle 19th century and stars Adrian Brody as Captain Charles Boone, a single father of 3 daughters who moves his family into the Boone ancestral home, a mansion located in Preacher's Corner, Maine, called Chapelwaite. They quickly discover that the people of the town despise the Boones, believing that the line has allowed the spread of a curse. And over time, with some investigation, Charles discovers the locals aren't totally wrong.
Yeah.
So that's fun. In addition to Adrian Brody, Chapelwaite Season 1 also stars Emily Hampshire, Jennifer Enos, Serena Glugumgas, I don't know how to say her name, Ian Ho. Though we don't know at present who will be coming back for Season 2. The short story on which the show is based is actually a prequel to the beloved novel Salem's Lot, though fans shouldn't expect any connections between Chapelwaite and the upcoming Salem's Lot movie from director Gary Dauberman. In fact, it's specifically because of that film that this show had to change its title. Because originally this was actually going to be titled Jerusalem's Lot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is the first I've heard of this, that the reason they had to change the name to Chapelwaite is because the upcoming Salem's Lot adaptation pretty much... And I get it, it may not even be part of from the same company, but they're probably like, we don't want to hurt each other, so let's just change one of the names.
Yeah, let's not make it too close together.
Yeah, although I would kind of wonder if just calling something Jerusalem's Lot would be enough difference. Did non-King fans even know that Jerusalem's Lot and Salem's Lot are the same thing? Would be my question.
That's true.
I think constant readers do, but I don't think your average normal person that is not a reader would know that. So they may.
Yeah, but if you put out Salem's Lot and Jerusalem's Lot, then you get confusion on. Hey, have you seen the movie Salem's Lot? What are you talking about? It's a TV show. It's called Jerusalem's Lot. No, it's not. And then you have that water cooler fight, and people get fired, and then they sue you, and it's just it's all bad.
It says, unfortunately, the official announcement about Chapel 8 Season 2 doesn't feature any information regarding when we can expect it to premiere, so stay tuned for any news on that front. In the meantime, if you haven't already watched Season 1, you really should. It's got the stamp of approval from Stephen King himself, who called the debut run balls-to-the-wall gothic horror. You can watch all the episodes on Epic's website if you have a cable subscription or with Epic's add-on from Amazon or Roku. So yeah, I definitely got to finish that up. I enjoyed it. There's some creepy elements that kind of got me, shivering a little bit on a couple moments where I was like, "Ooh, that was kind of creepy." So
I love that you're that person that doesn't go you're the person that goes, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, that's
and he's not exaggerating. Like, I've sat next to him in movies. This is what he does.
Yeah, I don't know. There comes a point when you're a horror absolute fanatic that you just see it. You see the Matrix, and it can't scare you anymore. I mean, yeah, every once in a while a cheap ass jump scare will get you, but it's like that's not even like earned. That's just more of like loud noise, like whatever. That's cheating.
So I have a question,
and I don't hate all jump scares. I think some jump scares are fine and they're earned.
I was gonna give you a prime example with my question: the Haunting of Hill House in the car.
Oh yeah,
that was an earned jump scare.
That was a brilliant one.
That was a brilliant one. That got you, didn't it?
Oh, I mean, yeah. It's
exactly.
Again, it's loud noises. It's not even like that. It just like because it's such an abrupt thing, But yes, that's a great one, and that series is so fucking good, man.
I'm thinking about rewatching it.
Me too. Every time I like slightly think about it for a bit, I'll like think of like one little element of the whole show, and then like it'll just like it's like a seed that gets planted in my brain.
That one,
and then it just keeps going. I'm just I need to watch it. I need to watch it.
That one in the car. That was the one that stuck with me for that show.
What I love is that one shotter in the funeral home, and then it actually goes into the house, and it's all a one shot.
The continuous shot.
Yeah, the one continuous shot. And there's like certain times you see the dead sister's ghost in the background, and it doesn't call attention to itself. It's kind of like the librarian from It. It just is there. And like I've even seen some like reaction videos with people, and they don't even notice it.
Really?
When they get to that scene, like they're just like so into it that they don't even realize like, oh, there's a figure in the back there that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is accounted for. There shouldn't be anybody back there.
I'm going to make you, for your birthday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch Creepshow and do a reaction for you. That'll be your birthday present this year. Just so whenever you're feeling kind of like melancholy, you're like, I'm going to go watch Peter watch that monkey again.
Oh, man. All right, so next up, and this is one that we've already alluded to a bit, is Firestarter, a remake trailer, new Stephen King adaptation coming to Peacock in May. And this is by John Squires from Bloody Disgusting on February 9th, 2022. So this is basically the news article that goes along with the fact that the trailer came out. There's only one thing, and I've already teased Peter about this when the trailer came out, that there's one element that kind of got announced around this time that didn't get mentioned in the trailer. So here you will finally get the reveal on that. So first of all, let's go through it here. It says a remake of Stephen King's Firestarter, which, again, I hate that term because it's not a remake. It's just a readaptation. Has nothing to do with the original movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, a remake is like you're taking another movie and you're doing it again. But if you got a book involved, it's not a remake. You're readapting something.
Okay.
Like The Shining, right? If somebody was to like do a new Shining, like they're not remaking Kubrick's movie.
Yeah.
They're going back to King's source material and making a new version of it.
It's the argument that you've put out there is that why do we have 18 versions of Romeo and Juliet, but we can't have a second version of The Shining?
Yeah, exactly. And I still want that, by the way. And I
I
still think Flanagan's the best choice.
Of course he is.
There's a little bit that's taken that edge off of that a little bit is the fact of how he ended Doctor Sleep was so Shining-esque that I think it'd be kind of tough to put him in that position then to do a Shining remake, having already basically executed that ending in his own movie, Doctor Sleep. But still, who better than Mr. Flanagan to do The Shining again? But then it goes on here. It says is on the way from Universal, Blumhouse, and directed by Keith Thomas, which did The Vigil. And today brings the trailer for the latest King adaptation, which we already watched. Again, check our YouTube channel. You can see us reacting to it.
Yep.
Additionally, we've learned that Firestarter remake is coming to theaters and Peacock on May 13th, 2022. So it's coming up very quickly.
Yeah.
May, very, very shortly.
Yeah.
which is actually cool too, because it's kind of like the Black Phone. I was talking to somebody recently where I was like, I kind of have high hopes for it because I was originally coming out in February and they moved it back to June. And I said, like, it is very rare. I told somebody this like over the last week or so. It's very rare for a horror movie to come out in the summer blockbuster range.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, it's usually because they have really high expectations for
Didn't
it.
they do the Conjuring was in like August, wasn't it?
I think there was, well, even August doesn't count as summer though.
It
Summer,
was like, it was like the very
summer's
like
like
August 1st. It was like right there. You know, it was like I swear.
Yeah, 'cause
there was one of them.
Yeah, because I think it even came out around August. So, but
No,
it's
it
May,
was in
May,
September.
June, July. May, June, July are such that's that period where it's like that's your summer blockbusters, and that's where like you're seeing Transformers movies, you're seeing Star Wars movies. Well, you should be seeing Star Wars movies. You're seeing Marvel movies. You're seeing all these big Fast and Furious. So for horror movies to fall in there, usually that is like a higher class of horror movie. I believe there was one of James Wan's came out in the summer. So the fact that Firestarter and the Black Phone is coming in the middle of the summer makes me think, man, both studios probably think they got something on their hands with those two films.
The original Conjuring was released on July 19th.
Okay, so yeah,
So it's earlier than I remembered. The third one, The Devil Made Me Do It. I know COVID affects it. It came out June 4th.
Yeah.
So The Conjuring is a heavy hitter series that I don't know. It doesn't have the second one listed here.
That's a multi-billion-dollar franchise at this point. So
it's
good. It's a big deal. So I kind of wonder, does that mean that they really think they got something on their hands with Firestarter?
Yeah.
Here,
Conjuring 2 was May 13th, 2016. So all three Conjuring movies have been during summer blockbuster months.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you, and look how good they did. Is that
they've done at least $1 billion.
You don't have
franchise.
You don't have to just release horror films in September and October
or January and February, because that's also when you drop a lot of horror movies drop. So Scream just came out.
The last movie you saw before everything shut down in 2020 was The Invisible Man.
Yeah,
I remember us talking about that.
Yeah,
and it was a horror movie, and it kind of caught me off guard. I'm a horror movie in January, and then you explained to me, that's where they put them. Sometimes is that they got to fill those slots because that's the bad months for movies to do well. So you throw a horror movie in. Yeah, people are always looking to get scared.
Yeah, indeed. Mike says The Fireman reminds me of Sleeping Beauties. Yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping into that one at some point. I own The Fireman. I bought it in like 2017, I think. And I read it. Ended up reading Nosferatu, but I didn't end up reading that one, so it's still in my little thing, just waiting to be hit. I haven't actually done Sleeping Beauties either. And then he says, "Isn't Romeo and Juliet public domain too?" I mean, yeah, and I guess the point isn't necessarily for me about the rights to it. It's more of the idea is Romeo and Juliet or any Shakespeare thing. You know, they can do different versions of them all the time, and nobody questions it. But if it's like a Stephen King novel, suddenly it turns into a thing where it's like, no, Kubrick's done the definitive version. You can't do it again. It's untouchable, and I disagree with that. I think we should see Stephen King the same as Shakespeare in that realm of like, man, if someone wants to do a version of Salem's Lot or The Shining or anything, like let him do it, man. Like it's not a knock on the other versions that it came previous. It's not anything. Like it's more of just like a tribute to the great book that you know, whatever. Like like The Stand. I mean, if The Stand wants to do another version, I am down to watch that.
Well, the last one was so disappointing to me. So
yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, we just were talking about how Carrie was overdone. So I mean, it's give and take. But I think that you're right. But I don't think that it should be. Oh, Kubrick did The Shining. It's one of the greatest horror films of all time. Close the door, lock it up, throw it away. It's done forever.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what The Shining would be like now? Like if they did a modern version of The Shining.
Yeah.
Make it current where he does something to the cell tower that they have, or the internet. Not just the radio. Kind of like liven it up and everything. Also, you could change the story a little bit to make it to where it's not the 20s gangsters. What if it's something else? Let's add something very sinister. The 70s would have been the appropriate time frame for the Overlook to be where the ghosts were. Dude, make it that a freaking serial killer was caught in the hotel and that the people lynched him. They're in the Overlook. Like, how dastardly would that be?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would definitely be the serial killer time of
exactly
is the 70s.
The 70s is like the serial killer time here. For
I don't
America.
know, man. I think King did it so well. I think he just adapted just as it is. Like make it a period piece because Yeah, I love all that. I love all the gangster stuff, and just there's something way sinister about those old days. Cell phones just make everything far less scary. I was just telling somebody that recently, man. Almost all horror movies you see always just like ignore nowadays. They just move it back to like at least the 90s because it's like, dude, how many horror movies? Just think about different horror movies and think like how ruined would they be if there were cell phones? You know, like Scream or Halloween. There's all these ones where it's just like, you know, Laurie just picks up her iPhone and snaps. See, look, the guy that was hiding by the bush. I got a picture of him. You know,
Yep, there he is.
like it's just, you know, the GPS tracker on the Smiths Grove van, and they're able to track Michael down immediately. There's the van. There's the not the van.
They got it low jacked, so it just stops working.
It stops working.
Michael's there, just like cranking the.
Yeah.
He looks over, and there's people arresting him.
I meant station wagon, not van.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word station wagon. Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, just the modern
Well,
technology
it
ruins a
wouldn't
lot.
be a station wagon because those don't exist anymore.
No, it'd just be an SUV or crossover.
It'd be a
'Cause
crossover.
Crossovers are just modern.
Cars.
No, they're modern station wagons.
That's true.
You got the rear compartment area and as well attached to
feeling
basically a car.
I'm feeling a little attacked right here. I drive a crossover, you prick.
I'm just saying, if you take an analogous of what the station wagon was, it's a modern crossover.
What about the minivan?
I mean, minivans still exist. I know. I live in Utah. There's plenty of them. But let's get back to the article here, because here's the reveal of what I was teasing to you.
Oh, yeah.
And it says, oh, by the way, the Firestarter score is being composed by the legendary John Carpenter.
No shit.
And it says in parentheses, Halloween, Christine, The Fog, and his fellow Halloween franchise composers Cody Carpenter, which I believe is his grandkid, and Daniel Davis. So the ones that did the recent Halloween scores are going to be scoring this.
The ones that took John Carpenter's original score for Halloween and redid them for Halloween and Halloween Kills.
Yeah, it says this is especially cool considering Carpenter was originally going to direct 1980 version of Firestarter, but ultimately departed the project. And that is a very kind way to say that he was fired. And do you remember why he was fired?
He wanted to make it more true to the book, didn't he?
No.
He wanted to make it more gory.
He made considered a flop film financially and commercially called The Thing, that was considered such a failure that he lost the job for Firestarter, which now we obviously look back and consider The Thing one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But at the time it
flopped.
Yeah, it wasn't financially successful at all, and a lot of people weren't even very keen on it artistically. You know, it took about 10 to 15, 20 years before people really appreciated The Thing for how great it actually is.
Wow.
But yeah, that got him fired from the original Firestarter. So
Jeez.
kind of cool to see him circling back into it here. And then another thing that I wanted to highlight here says the film also stars Kurtwood Smith, and then it says The Amityville, The Awakening, and Hitchcock, which I think it should say RoboCop, because isn't that his ultimate role as the villain in RoboCop? I mean, he's also in that TV show as well.
That 70s show?
Yeah, which do you see they're doing like a 90s show, and it's going to have him in it?
No.
It's like an actual like continuation of that 70s show.
And he's like grandpa and
something, yeah.
What the? No, I didn't see that. What the hell?
Yeah. And John Beasley, The Purge, Anarchy, and The Sum of All Fears. So yeah, that. So we saw the trailer, but yeah, that's the big thing was John Carpenter scoring. Man, that excites the fuck out of me. I can't wait to. Now I'm almost as excited for the score as I am for the movie.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. So.
Oh my god, they are making that's 90s show.
Yes.
It doesn't roll off the tongue like that 70s show.
No, we're the same distance from the 90s now as we were from the 70s when that 70s show came out.
Stop it. Don't stop. You're making me feel old.
You are old. All right, so now this is a perfect time to basically let's talk about the trailer a little bit.
Yeah.
So we did our reaction video. We obviously, if you want to go back to that and see our initial reactions, kind of knee-jerk, in-the-moment reactions, but just overall, like, deeper dive into it. What did you think? What thoughts?
So I rewatched it today.
You're obviously a big Firestarter fan.
Huge Firestarter fan. It's in my top 5.
Yeah.
If I remember right. I'm trying to keep track. Well, there's always the non-Dark Tower stipulation with it.
Yeah.
I think it made my top 5.
I'm sure it would. I'd be shocked if it didn't.
We did our top 5. I just can't remember what I put in there. But one of the things I noticed, I rewatched the trailer today. One of the things I noticed is that they focused on. I can't think of her name because it's transitioning from a male character to a female character. The leader of the shop. Amanda Waller kind of character.
Okay.
They're focusing on her, dude. There's not much with Rainbird in the trailer.
There's plenty with him though.
No, there's plenty for us book fans, but they hide his face when he's got a knife to her throat in one scene. You see him with a pistol and taking down a guard while wearing like the janitor
scrubs.
the scrubs. So you think he might be like fighting with her. I wonder if people who don't know Firestarter are confused with who he is and what side he's on, and then he's going to be like the bad guy in this.
Yeah. So
It's kind of interesting that they're focusing, because that's the woman. I can't remember the shop leader's name.
Yeah.
If anyone in the chat remembers, let me know. But that's the line that Charlie gives right at the end of the trailer, "Liar, liar, pants on fire," is to her.
yeah.
So it's just like, it's interesting that we get the idea that it's her is going to be the big bad, but really it's Rainbird, unless they're doing like a huge bait and switch on us.
Here's the one thought process I had, and I don't think there's anything I saw in the trailer that give it away, but it's just kind of one of those gut feelings I have from a storytelling perspective, is I believe Rainbird's going to kill her mom.
Yeah.
I think Rainbird's going to be the one that's actually there to do the hit. Because wouldn't that just make way more like storytelling sense for a film to then have like the one that kills her mom be the one that like befriends her? Because I assume all that's going to happen. That happened in the novel. You know, Rainbird ends up kind of going like double agent to get on her.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of get inside her walls a little bit.
And imagine that scene in, like, you know, it's the barn in the
I bet you that's what's going to ultimately be. Yeah, they're going to be the thing that, you know, somehow she finds out that, you know, this is the one that killed your mom.
The dad lets it loose right before he dies and everything, and he killed your mother as well as me.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and then hell hath no fury.
I don't know why, because in the book it was someone else, right? Or do we even know in the book?
Yeah,
or
it was the two agents that abducted Charlie.
Okay.
And the one he puts the one to sleep who goes into a coma, makes the other one blind.
Do you see it in the book, or is it more just that he finds?
No, he finds her.
We
You don't see her get abducted.
No, I mean,
remember, she's at
I mean, see mom getting killed, or
No,
we
yeah,
just see the
yeah.
dad finding the body later.
Yeah, I was getting. You don't see Charlie get abducted, and you don't see what happened to the mom, because the mom got interrogated to find out where Charlie was, which friend's house, and the dad comes home and finds her.
Yeah,
And then-
that's what I
and
thought.
then and then goes looking for Charlie.
It's quote unquote off screen,
Right.
And I think that it probably won't be in the thing, because what better way also to establish Rainbird is this badass. Because I mean, the book does it well. You know, they talk him up and stuff, and you could talk him up as well. But how much better would it be to just have this person just appear in their house and murder this lady?
You have one piece of evidence supporting you, is that if you go back and watch the trailer really closely, when Charlie yells, because Rainbird's got her by the throat with a knife to her throat. When she yells, "What happened to mom? Where's mom?" Something along those lines. He's got her eyes covered.
Yeah.
So she might not see him. Like, he may pop up and cover her eyes, so he doesn't. So I don't know. So she doesn't see him.
Yeah.
And everything. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I just feel like that's the perfect way to like establish him as to an audience to how bad he is.
Yeah.
You know, because he's going to kill like an unarmed woman in her home.
And then if you have him kill the old scientist as well, you just make him like seem like so evil.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be befriending. It's like, oh God, get that thing away from that little girl.
Yeah.
Captain Hollister, that was the name.
I do hope he judo chops someone's face though.
Oh God.
Just to tribute the original. Just one person, just judo chop right in the face. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that. Anything else? Thoughts on what we saw there?
The fire looks really good. I mean, modern CGI is fantastic, but man, some of those effects looked real. Like
Yeah.
they did actual. What's it called? Not CGI, but
Practical.
Practical. Thank you.
Well, I think they did, because one of the things that we saw when they announced filming was like a fire crew and like a guy on fire.
Yeah.
So I do believe they're probably doing a lot of practical effects. Not everything, certainly, but
Obviously.
I do think they're probably using way more practical effects than maybe you generally find in a modern film.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that one of the first tweets they put out was like one of those guys that was on
Mm-hmm.
fire, like in the fire suit, like whatever, and they had a fire truck and stuff. So yeah. For me, I'd say overall the tone and just how it looks is great. You know, because like for instance, there's sometimes I see stuff where it's just like, oh, that doesn't look not that like it looks bad quality wise, like it looks like a bad story, but just it doesn't look like it's shot very well or whatever.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. It looks like it's done well. Like cinematography wise.
A lot of stuff focusing on Charlie.
Yeah, I like her listing the things to control her powers. I don't think that was the original movie that I recall. So that's cool. And then I just feel like it's really focused on her and control. Because we didn't really get that even in the original, did we? Like in terms of her trying to like almost be controlled by her dad to like keep this under wraps. I just feel like it wasn't anywhere near what it was in the book. And I feel like this. I feel like this actually feels a lot more like the book in that way.
I like the tension between mom and dad about her wanting to her daughter to learn how to control it and use it if she has to.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, I'm trying to keep her alive. Like, no, she needs to repress this. She needs to hide it.
Yeah.
And the difference there between the two parents, and it's interesting to see like the dad. I mean, obviously we know the story of Firestarter.
Yeah.
Is, wouldn't it be wild if they didn't kill the mom and they took her hostage?
I mean, yeah.
There's a chance, we never know if are they going to follow the book, line for line kind of thing like in that aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine they
I think mom's dead by the first 15 minutes.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I do. Unless they go really crazy with like showing the backstory stuff. That's the only way that mom lasts. And even then, she's dead within the first 20 minutes.
I think one of the things also that I'm gearing myself for is that this isn't a science experiment that went wrong and they created her by the two of them having a child. It almost seems like this is something that didn't start at birth, like in the book. You have young Charlie who, sets the bear on fire, sets her mom on fire when she's angry as a baby and a toddler.
Yeah.
I think this is something that's coming when she's... It reminds me of X-Men. It's like something like as you start to hit puberty a little bit.
Yeah.
That it starts to manifest. She looks like she's old enough for... It looks like a middle school classroom.
Yeah, it could be.
Like a science lab that she's in when she's doing the list. Pencil, paper, book, shoes, that kind of thing.
That little ginger kid picking on her.
There's always a bully, right?
That seems most unwise.
It's always unwise to pick on someone with special powers. I mean...
That's probably not going to end well for everyone.
No.
Let's see, another note I put down here. Her dad doesn't seem overly reasonable in the way that he's talking, like about her like suppressing. Like, I just don't feel... It just feels kind of unreasonable with how he's like talking in the trailer, and I like that because I think that makes the character more interesting. I feel like, because I mean, you could like feel for him, right? Like if that was your daughter, you'd probably maybe have some unreasonable expectations on the kid too.
Well, just normal expectations as a parent. I was talking with my daughter yesterday, and it's just like, man, there's some expectations that parents have that put stress on kids. My daughter's 9 years old. That's about the age that Charlie is when some of the events go down in the book and everything. And it's just like, man, I couldn't imagine trying to have a conversation with her that, hey, you can't ever use this power that's inside you that just builds up.
Yeah.
And I love that the mom comes to her to defense along those lines where it's like, she's a girl. Like, she has those emotions. Like, you don't understand what it's like. And he doesn't. He's a man.
Yeah.
He wasn't a little girl when he was growing up. He doesn't know what it's like. And it's so funny to see that. I wonder if there's going to be a flip when mom goes and they have to go on the run. I wonder if there's going to be time on the run, or if it's going to be like in the book where it's 6 months, that's all they get on the run, or are they going to stretch that out a little bit?
Yeah I don't know, it'd be interesting. Definitely could be, though. I don't know how long the movie is as well. That's the other thing that'd be interesting to see. One thing from the trailer is that bathroom scene looks like it's going to be very intense. With the teacher in there. That looks like, just the way the trailer shot makes me think, man, that whole scene's going to feel very intense, I bet you. Because just that little bite of it that we got in the trailer looked insane. So, can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Drew didn't do bad by any means, but I think this actor appears to be giving way more depth to Charlie. So I'm intrigued to see that. We've talked about it before, how child actors today are way more talented than child actors of old, just in general. And I'm not talking shit on older, old school child actors.
Sure.
But back in the day, I just don't think, kids were normal kids a little bit more. Nowadays, I feel like some kids are being raised to be actors, and they're taking acting classes way earlier and stuff. And they just, I don't know. You see like the what's his name? That's the baseball boy and stuff. Like he's done a number of things now where it's like, dude, he's just done better than a lot of other people. So I just wonder what this actor is going to do playing Charlie. It looks like it's going to have a lot of depth to it.
So according to Wikipedia, so take that with a grain of salt, it says that Firestarter's runtime is 110 minutes, so close to 2 hours.
Okay. Well, and I mean, maybe
it does not. I will say it does not have it listed on IMDb.
I was going to say, I would be shocked if there's even a final, like, cut now, to be honest, because we're still months away from it. So I wonder if they're, I mean, not saying that they would still be like crazy editing it, but like, I mean, George Lucas was changing Star Wars Episode 2 like a week before it hit theaters. So with digital, that's more realistic now because you don't have to like actually get prints printed out on film and sending it out to theaters. So
I see what you did there, IMDb. I went to go look just to double check on there to see what it has listed, if there is a runtime listed here anywhere. And it popped up an ad for Flamin' Hot Cheetos. I was like, I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Usually runtimes aren't completely locked down until they're rated by the ratings board, and a lot of times audiences, we don't end up finding out until tickets go on sale.
It does have a rating. Did it have a rating before?
Well, because usually when tickets go on sale is the point when it's like, then you'll see it because theaters have to know like how many showtimes they can have. So then usually when you buy tickets for the first time is when you'll certainly get the thing. But yeah, I don't know if we've seen anything on runtime, but I don't know. 2 hours sounds about right.
What about a rating? Did we see a rating before? Does it have it in the trailer?
I think it's rated R. I feel like that was announced during
It does say that it's rated R.
Yeah, because I think that was even announced during some of the articles we had early on. And that's not necessarily that it was actually rated by the ratings board. It's just more of a fact of you just know sometimes that it's going to be rated R by how your script looks.
Sure.
Yeah. But then my next note here, I'm not a fan of her popping the crow there. Some very important and lovable characters might be in danger if crows are just popped willy-nilly. So I don't like that. Let's just keep the chickens. Let's keep to the chickens when you're blowing animals up here. Let's not blow up crows. I don't like that.
Love it.
I don't like it at all. And then the last note I had, I just grabbed a quote. I don't want to hurt anybody, but it feels kind of good.
Yeah.
I like that. That's the last note I had. Anything else you got? You want to
that was
recap
it.
as a Firestarter fanboy?
I just hopped over to the trailer and just double checked at the end of it. It did not say the rating there, so that's interesting that it didn't say it when we already have it. But I'm excited for it to be rated R. That means that we're gonna crispy.
Yes, indeed. Theaters?
Oh yeah,
because it's gonna be on streaming as well. So
I'm gonna watch it in theaters with you.
Excellent.
I mean, it's one of my top 5. We got to.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, the John Carpenter thing though is the big thing that I've been kind of teasing you about for weeks now. That there was something else, and I was curious that they might somehow throw like a card in there saying like scored by John Carpenter. I just feel like if you got John Carpenter on your film in any fashion, you'd probably want to put that out there. But they didn't in the trailer, so
that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know though, maybe not, because I don't know that they actually put Carpenter's name in any of the advertising for the Halloween movies. I mean, it was known, it was put out there with articles and stuff, but I don't think the trailers ever said like, scored by John Carpenter. That's not something you really advertise very often. I mean,
not the music.
Yeah, John Williams doesn't even get.
I know how much you're a fan of movie music and everything, and scores and stuff.
Yes,
so
very, 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 very much. I've always been a nerd for that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely not something you put in the trailers. Not even on posters a lot. It's one of those things like you'll get it thrown out there in like articles and stuff, but it's not. I don't know. Yeah. There's dozens of us that are like me that are into that kind of stuff.
Of us.
So. But yes, John Carpenter, definitely excited to see what he's got in store because he's awesome. As well as throw him into any of whatever music service you have. He's also done this series of things where he's just put out music where it's just like almost like score music, but it wasn't for anything. I think it's like John Carpenter anthologies or something, and those are like killer to listen to. They're really fun. Yeah, really, really fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on to the next thing here. And this one is Dead by Daylight's creator-director dreams of using Stephen King properties.
Hell yeah.
And this is by Mike Wilson from Bloody Disgusting on February 15th, 2022. And so you're familiar with Dead by Daylight's?
Very familiar with this game. I played it once through my controller on accident when Ghostface got me.
Yeah.
Scared the hell out of me. But the gaming group that I used to watch all the time played it all the time.
I
'Cause
downloaded
It's
it.
a fun, it's a fun multiplayer.
I
game.
played it a little bit. I probably didn't play it enough, especially for as much as I dumped into it for downloadable content. Because I downloaded, Jason, Freddy, Ghostface, like all kinds.
We need to get a group of 5 together and play it.
Indeed, that would be fun.
Oh, we should see if anyone in the Discord has it. We could play them.
So here's my only complaint about it. I've told you this before. Is they got the views backwards.
Oh, really?
In my mind, because I feel the victim should be first person, because generally speaking, first person's scarier. You have less view of what's going on and stuff, and that should be the victim, right? Like you're running around stuff. Because how much scarier is it then when you turn and Michael Myers is right there, and also like supernaturally, most of the killers kind of have some supernatural elements to them. Shouldn't they then have a little bit more view of what's going on around them?
I think you just make it overpowered because the killers win more often than not.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
You got to give it you got to remember from a game perspective, these people aren't looking for a horror film.
Well, it's not even
feeling.
It's not even
they're
just,
looking for a fair competitive game.
It's not
This
even-
game is very competitive. I found out.
it's not even just the that kind of thing though, but it's also most horror games are first person. When you play most horror games that are out there, because I just think there's something that almost feels more claustrophobic with first person, so it makes it scary. So I think it just would make it scarier for the victims. But I
think it comes down to making it a balanced is what it is. If you made the killers third person, they'd be so overpowered. Because there's times where I've seen it. Like I said, I've watched a lot of this game be played. I've seen it where people are hiding just in tall grass, and the killer doesn't see them because they're in first person. If there's third person, there's no way you miss that.
Yeah,
that's the thing is you wouldn't have those moments. I guarantee if you had the killer in third person and the survivors in first person, survivors would hardly ever win, if ever.
I mean, you only need one that survives anyway, right? The final girl. That's the only one that actually survives. So, but then, so jumping into this article here, I've cut through a lot of it and got toward the end where it talks about it. It says, and of course, talk turned to Richard's idea of, quote, dream collaborations for Dead by Daylights, which turns out to be Stephen King. Because I think a good chunk of this article earlier on talks about they just got the rights to The Ring.
Oh, really?
Specifically the original, the Japanese version.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's kind of then it segues into like another collaboration in the future. And he says a dream one for him would be Stephen King. And it says, quote, personally, I'm a giant fan of Stephen King universe and the villains from his books. I would love to be able to do one of his monsters at some point. I think that'd be amazing. It's such a great universe, and there's so many different possibilities we could explore. Then it jumps back away from his quote here and back to the article and says, obviously it's not as simple as it sounds. Licensing is still very much a sticking point. And then another quote here says, when you're working with licensing deals, there are so many people involved in getting it off the ground. There's the business aspect, the creative aspect, and then we also have to think about if it's really a good fit for Dead by Daylights in the first place. Sometimes even if both parties really want to work together, it can't happen for legal reasons or just because the timing isn't right. So the question I have from there is, what would your thoughts be knowing that game? Because I guess for anyone that hasn't played the game, it's basically like a killer versus victims game, kind of horror movie.
It's 4v1. You have 4 survivors and 1 killer, and the whole goal of the survivors is to escape. So you have to repair generators, and if you repair 5 generators, I think is how many it is, then you can unlock the doors. There's 2 doors on either side. There's multiple different maps, multiple different stages. There's different perks and everything like that you can get. And then there's different killers that you can play as if you're the killer. So it's 1v4. The killer's goal, kill all 4 survivors. The 4 survivors try to escape.
And they have like superpowers as well. Like I know at least for Jason, I don't know if all of them have this, but he has like the teleportation, and you turn into like, it's almost feels like Evil Dead where you're just like zooming all fast and you can get in front of the people that's running from you and stuff. Yeah, which is perfect.
There's another character that has that too. There's one that can go invisible. You hear like bells, like Christmas bells almost, and he goes invisible. So he can get like, I've seen it. It's hilarious because like, when he goes invisible, he can't swing, he can't hit. It's 2 hits to down a survivor. So what you'll see people creep right up next to a survivor and then uncloak. Think of like the Klingons in Star Trek where they uncloak, or the Predator uncloaks right next to them, and people freak the fuck out. It's so funny. It's great. It's if you just look up like funny Dead by Daylight bloopers, even you'll see ones where people have hidden, like led the killer around in circles for hours trying to catch him and stuff.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
So what's your Stephen King? What would you
Initially, my first thought would be Pennywise. But
I think that's a knee-jerk reaction. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they already have a clown character in the game.
It's not Pennywise though.
It's not Pennywise, so I would say that.
I mean, you got that goon that's on the
other-
screen now, and Jason still got put in there. That's just a Jason
And there's another
ripoff.
character that has the teleportation ability.
Yeah.
I think it's the nurse is what she's called. But the one that
Pennywise is certainly the first.
Pennywise-
That was my
Pennywise
first
is
reaction
first.
too. I think. How do you do it though with Pennywise? Like what are his powers? I don't know.
Well, because one of the cool things that they introduced in Dead by Daylight, I don't know if it's recently, but it's one of the things that I saw recently is that the killers build up a charge, and then you can just like instantly kill someone. And it does like kind of like Mortal Kombat fatality kind of thing, where it's like they're on the ground, they're down, and then they do like something special. I think Ghostface like stabs him like 15 times with his hunting knife,
Yeah.
or something like that. I think Michael sticks him to a wall and then does the head tilt. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah.
But Jigsaw puts a bear trap on their head, and
That's
so
great.
they have to try to get that
I
off.
forgot,
in a
yeah,
certain amount of
Jigsaw's
time.
in there.
Yeah, so I think for Pennywise, if he did one where if you did Pennywise and the person's down, have him transform into the spider and eat him.
Mike says Pennywise could always appear as an already dead survivor.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my mind, that's what I'm just like. It'd be interesting. Is like, how would you execute Pennywise? But then I guess the question is, if you go outside of Pennywise, though, what would you think?
Misery.
Misery comes to mind. Yeah. Jack Torrance.
What the hell's her name?
And see, Jack Torrance. What? Annie Wilkes.
Annie Wilkes. Thank you.
If you go Jack Torrance, though, do you go axe or do you
Axe.
go croquet mallet?
Axe. You got to go Axe. I mean, you got to go Jack Nicholson. You got to go Axe.
Yeah.
That's the more famous of the two images, you know.
Yeah. I don't.
But it would be easier to get licensing if you did the croquet mallet.
Yeah.
It's not croquet, but the
Roque.
mallet, the roque mallet. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing: the roque mallet has that whistling that it does. That would be.
Yeah.
That would be creepy.
Yeah.
What else? Any other?
I mean, you could always do the monkey in the crate. Just have a crate
Great.
going around, and then all of a sudden the monkey bursts out of it. That's scary as hell.
Rose the Hat. Mike
Rose
says.
the Hat would be a hell of a good one. Also, a lesser known one, so that'd be really fun.
Yeah. Let me pull up the old. Carrie.
Oh God, Carrie would be terrifying. I mean, Charlie would be bad.
How do you stop Carrie? That's the thing that would be like. If you gave Carrie's abilities, it'd be unwinnable. You would.
Imagine if Charlie was in it. She just when she comes up, she literally just does like a judo chop and it sets you on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. What about Dark Tower wise?
I mean, Flag would be bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good guy, but yes,
No,
I see what you mean.
he's not. Well, you also have to remember is that when they introduce villains, they always introduce survivors from that series as well. They
Yeah.
just recently did Resident Evil, and you got
Jill
Jill
Valentine.
Valentine and what's Leon.
Yeah,
Is
I
in
don't-
there
I
as-
always
as
liked.
well.
I always liked Jill. She was always my favorite.
Jill's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
But so in Scream, you got Sydney was added. Laurie
Yeah.
was added with Michael Myers. So, you know,
I'm cycling through the list here. Christine, you're just in a freaking
fucking car.
cruising around the map, running people over. I mean, that would be terrifying, though.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know if you could do it, but imagine if you just changed the map to actually be like a neighborhood street with a couple streets,
Yeah.
and then just had like Carrie just cruising the streets.
Not Carrie, Christine.
Or Christine. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Christine. Yes.
Wrong C name for a horror icon from Stephen
Yes.
King.
Yes.
I mean, you could do Barlow, do a fucking vampire,
Yeah. Yeah. You could-
where he just like his finishing kill thing is he picks you up off the ground and just rips your throat out.
Yeah. Cycle of a werewolf.
You could do a werewolf.
Just a werewolf. Yeah.
They don't have a werewolf. I don't know how you don't have a werewolf in Dead by Daylight.
What about Gage Creed?
Oh God, because he'd be little.
Little. He's just
Oh, God.
scurrying around with the
The
scalpel,
the scalpel, yeah.
cutting Achilles tendons.
Ah, no.
Oh man, I think Gage is that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think that'd be a good.
And then he has the cat with him, and he throws the cat at you.
yeah, church.
Yeah, he has
Comes
church
after you.
He has church, and he just like chucks church. And
I mean, going through the list here, drawing of the three, you can go Jack Mort. He's just torpedoing people with bricks.
you could also do like a TikTok man
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
he's terrifying,
yeah, definitely.
wearing a big old clock.
Oh, let's see if there's any other here that jump out.
What's that rapper? Flava Flav that wears the big clock?
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Wizard and Glass. You can do Rhea.
Ugh. She just chucks pink orbs at you.
Oh man. Or you just go do Cordelia and a crowd comes with fire.
Oh, Charlie Tree.
Let's see. Hearts in Atlantis. Low men in yellow coats.
There you go.
You can do that.
Taheen would be pretty scary.
Yeah, Taheen would be pretty frightening.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Wolf from Wolves of the Kala.
Now there's some legal troubles.
Yeah, because you got lightsabers and sneeches
and Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah. So there's all the Dark Tower ones. Let's see. Or what about Gerald's game? That what is it? Moon Man or whatever.
Oh God. No.
Yeah, that would be. I just hit Lizzy's story and it made me think of that for some reason. But yeah,
The Crimson King.
Yeah, the Crimson King throwing
non-Harry Potter grenades. I like that, Mike.
Let's see, 11/22/63. I can't think of anything there.
Lee Harvey Oswald with a sniper rifle. I mean,
already said Rose the Hat from Doctor Sleep. What about Brady Hartsfield?
Oh God, Mr. Mercedes for driving around. Yeah, there you go. There's another person that could use the Christine map.
Yeah, exactly. Just cruising around in the ice cream truck.
It's either Christine or no. You'd have him in the Mercedes
or in the Mercedes. But
yeah.
the ice cream. There's just something sinister about an ice cream truck.
There is.
Let's just admit that.
Yeah.
Let's see and watch The Outsider. Do The Outsider.
It could shapeshift into a survivor and make it look like he's helping you, and then all of a sudden just
get you. Let's see. Institute has just some company goons.
Yeah.
Let's see If It Bleeds later. Billy Summers. Yeah, I don't know. There's some possibilities there. I think Gage might be one of my favorites.
Gage. The best part about Gage is because he'd be
small. Yeah.
It's almost like
Is Chucky in that game?
Not yet.
Okay, because Gage, just do him in there, man, and then do like that like evil face he's got, and like you said, Church can be with him. You know. In the church, that could be one of his power-ups. His church distracts people. Mm-hmm. Like you hear like the cat like screech to like scare people, and they go look that direction.
And then he comes up and
gets their Achilles tendon.
Gets their Achilles,
and then they can't run anymore.
Well, they always because it takes 2 hits to go down, so you get hit once with whatever close weapon the killer has. You always start like limping and bleeding and moaning and stuff like that. So it very well could be that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're right though. I mean, Annie Wilkes would be a good one.
Walking around with a freaking sledgehammer.
Yeah,
sledgehammer or axe, Ted?
Yeah,
which one would you do?
It's true. That's true. Oh man, that's.
They do have a character. I think this character that's on the screen now. I think he does have an axe, but no, they have one with a sledgehammer too. It's the guy with the chainsaw. He has a sledgehammer too.
Yeah.
So you already have that, so you could just import that over.
What about for old Jack? What if you actually made the Overlook the map? And then you had like the fire hose coming after you and stuff.
The fire hose could jump out. You'd be fixing a generator and the door opens next to you, and there's a wolf guy in there.
217. Room 217.
Yeah, it's room 217 and the door opens and Miss Macy's slowly walking towards you. God in heaven, that'd be good.
There you go.
And then part of the map, you run outside, it's the snow maze.
Yeah. No, not the maze. I'd go with the topiaries.
The hedge animals?
Yeah, dude, that's way scarier.
Don't have them actually move, but just have them like if you look because you're third person, if you look away and you look back, have like the head turn.
Yeah.
But don't actually have them like get down and like actually hunt you, because that'd be unfair. But just have it like where like I'm doing it off camera. Just do it where like, the head turns.
Yeah. When you're not looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun though. But yes, Dead by Daylight. I definitely need to play that more. I think I've only played a round or two of it, but definitely spend plenty of money on it with all the downloadable content that I bought. So I guess I'm their ideal customer. Okay, so let's go ahead on over to the next one here. The Boogeyman. It says the Boogeyman, David Dasmalashian. I don't know how to say his last name. Marin Ireland, Vivian Lyra, Blair, and Madison Hugh board 20th Century Studios Stephen King adaptation.
Holy cow, they're getting a bunch of people.
So they're rounding out the cast as they're approaching production, it sounds like. Well, this is in the end of February, so if that last article is correct, they should have been pretty much starting production. So this is by Matt Grober from Deadline on February 22nd, 2022, which that's a fun date, 2/2/22.
Yeah.
So
it was on a Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, so it says exclusive. David, I don't know how to say his name. That's Malchian. It says Dune and the Suicide Squad.
It's Polka Dot Man.
Marin Ireland, Y, The Last Man and the Umbrella Academy, Vivian Lyra Blair, Bird Box, and Mr. Corman, and Madison Hugh, Voyagers, has signed on to star alongside Chris Messian and Sophie Thatcher in 20th Century Studios' horror thriller The Boogeyman, based on King's 73 short story of the same name, which is
73?
1973, yeah.
Oh, it said 78 in the last article.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Night Shift was in 78, just after The
Oh,
Shining.
so it was talking about Night Shift.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Which entered production in New Orleans, so it is entered production now, and will debut on 2023 on Hulu in the U.S., Star Plus in Latin America, and on Disney Plus under the Star banner in all other territories.
Oh, okay.
So that's some pretty big news about when to look for it next year, as well as where to find it. The film, from director Rob Savage, he did Dash Cam and Host, follows a 16-year-old and her younger sister, still reeling from the death of their mother, as they're targeted by a supernatural boogeyman after their psychologist father has an encounter with a desperate patient in their house. Which, that sounds terrible.
Jesus.
Mark Heyman wrote the most recent draft of the script with Scott Beck and Brian Woods, A Quiet Place. And let's see. Ackle Cooper, Malignant, penning prior drafts. 21 Laps, Sean Levy and Dan Levine and Dan Cohn are producing, with Beck, Woods, and Emily Morris serving as executive producers. And then the guy whose name I have a hard time pronouncing, David Dashta Malkian, I don't know how to say it, recently wrapped filming roles opposite Corey Hawkins and Liam Cunningham in Ambelin's Last Voyage of Demeter, from director Andre Overdahl. The actor most recently seen opposite Timothée Chalamet and Oscar Isaac in Denis Villeneuve's Oscar-nominated adaptation of Dune. I don't remember who he was in Dune. I've seen it a couple times now, and I do not remember who he was in Dune. When it listed him as Dune, I'm like, he was in Dune?
Like, wait, what? It's Dast Mole Chin.
Okay.
Dast Mole Chin.
And also starred alongside Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, and John Cena in James Gunn DC film The Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He also appeared in such films as Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, The Bird Box, A Million Little Pieces, Ant-Man, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which, Baba Yaga, Boogeyman.
It's that guy?
Yeah.
I didn't know those were the same people, so he's in both the MCU and the DCEU.
Yeah. Blade Runner 2049 and The Belko Experiment.
Holy cow.
Prisoners and The Dark Knight. And in series including MacGyver and Reprisal and Twin Peaks.
He's the guard in Dark Knight that gets taken by Two-Face.
Is he, or is he the guy that has a cell phone in him or whatever?
No, he's not the guy that has the cell phone is a big biker looking dude. He's the guard that gets shot in when they try to kill the mayor, and Gordon gets shot, and then Two-Face takes him in the ambulance and kidnaps him. He's
I feel like he was like a mental patient.
Yeah. Batman says he was a schizophrenic sociopath and everything like that.
It's been a while since I've seen The Dark Knight.
My wife was watching it the other day.
Okay.
So
I will say he is one of those guys. He's been in a lot of stuff, and he's one you generally tend to recognize.
Sure.
It says Ireland also appeared in films on the film side with The Empty Man, The Irishman, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, Piercing, Hell or High Water, which is a great movie.
Love that movie.
The Family Fang, Side Effects, 28 Hotel Rooms. Let's see, I Am Legend, The Manchurian Candidate, and on the TV side, Why the Last Man, The Umbrella Academy, Homeland, Mildred Pierce, and more. Blair's film credits include Bird Box, Band-Aid. She also featured in such series as Mr. Corman, Station 19, and Waco, who recently appeared in Lionsgate's science fiction thriller Voyager, and previously featured in series Grace and Frankie, The Goldbergs, and Jason Bateman's dark comedy Bad Worlds, among other projects. So yeah, rounding out their cast, which is generally what you would do as you go into production. So yeah, I would say that we can definitely pin The Boogeyman down as a 2023 release, as it's coming, as well as Mr. Harrigan's Phone, probably.
And it's a film?
Yes.
And it's going right to Hulu.
Yeah.
Here in America, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, there's for other regions.
Indeed.
Got to be aware of our international friends.
Indeed, because they will be ones that have to fight some of those other streaming services to get access to this movie.
It's true.
Okay, next up, this is a fun one. So this happened since our last episode. Gwendy's Final Task released, the new Gwendy novel. And this article is exclusive, Gwendy Final Task, Stephen King and Richard Chizmar interview. And this is by Bev Vincent. And he did this with Fangoria on February 25th, 2022, which is always fun. I always love Fangoria. That's just like the classic horror sci-fi magazine. And, I will say they're genius because I don't know if you heard, but Fangoria is doing publications again.
No.
And, the way that they're doing it to like make it worth people's while is they're doing Fangoria. They're doing everything in there. But one thing they do is they guarantee that anything that's in the Fangoria magazine will never be put online.
Oh.
So that like Fangoria's website runs different articles than the Fangoria magazine. And the Fangoria magazine, you cannot find those articles anywhere else.
Oh,
so
okay.
like this interview, for instance, is online, so it's not in the magazine.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a genius way to try to
keep your print going.
Yeah, hold a print media thing and keep it going. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in with this interview here. It says in early 2017, Richard Chizmar revealed to me that he was collaborating with Stephen King on a novella called Gwendy's Button Box. He asked if I would answer some questions about events, places, and people in Castle Rock, Maine. That famous, and then he says in parentheses, nay, infamous, fictional town that has been the setting of several Stephen King novels and numerous stories, and I happily obliged. Then in 2019, I started getting text messages from Richard again requesting more Castle Rock details. This led to Richard's solo book, Gwendy's Magic Feather, which featured the adventures of Gwendy Peterson and the burden placed on her by the mysterious Richard Ferris, which I love characters with the RF initials. I tend to trust them immediately. In my afterword to the limited edition of Gwendy's Magic Feather, I wondered if I'd hear from Richard again in 2020 asking for more information about Castle Rock. And he says, I was wrong. Although I got the timing right, it was Derry he wanted to ask research about this time instead. So 4 years after they began their collaboration on Gwendy's Button Box, Stephen King and Richard Chizmar were again back to work on what would seem to be based on the title of the last book in the trilogy, Gwendy's Final Task. And I had the opportunity to interview the co-authors in late 2020 about the book. So this is just a question and answer style interview here. So we'll just go through this.
In 2020?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I guess that is true. That's a long time ago.
That's 2 years ago, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, a year and a half ago, I would say, but still, that's
because 2020 doesn't count as a year. But
yeah.
No, that's true. That didn't register to me. But yeah, so I wonder how long this has been in the works. And then it starts off here. It says, I suppose it was inevitable that one or both of you would wonder what happened to Gwendy Peterson after the events of Gwendy's Magic Feather. What was the inspiration and motivation for this new adventure? King answers and says, I get credit or the blame. I just had an idea. They rarely come full blown, beginning, middle, and end, but once in a blue moon they do. And when they do, they have to be written. To do it or to not do it would be like killing a puppy. And then Chizmar says, Steve sent me a series of texts in June of 2020 with the first one led off with, hey, Rich, suppose Gwendy got, and then he trails off. And then he laid out in front of me the nuts and bolts of Gwendy's Final Task. We battled some additional ideas back and forth and discussed our work schedules, eventually settling on a tentative start date, and everything followed from there. So the next question is, after Richard wrote the sequel, Gwendy's Button Box, what was it like to collaborate on Gwendy's story again? King said, for me, it was like coming home. She's a great character. Richard actually brought the magic by putting her simultaneously in politics and literature. Chizmar says, collaborating with Gwendy's Final Task was a joy. We did the entire thing electronically, emailed files back and forth. But if you took a peek at our texts and emails from the months that we spent working on the story, it would be pretty easy to imagine the two of us sitting side by side at the same messy desk with a big goofy grins on our faces. That's what I love about the 21st century is that kind of stuff is easy to do.
Yeah.
And then he finishes off here with this answer and says, that's what felt like to me. That's what it felt like to me anyway. At least a real partnership and a hell of a lot of fun. And then Bev asks, how do you guys prepare to write a follow-up book written as long as 4 years ago? King answers, read them over, make character lists, and catch the flavor. So that's kind of interesting because you have to imagine that King probably did the same thing with the Dark Tower books too. When he would come back to write those, he probably did a very similar thing. And then The next question, I know you're not fans of outlining, but how much discussion did you have about the direction of the book the book would likely take before you started working on it together? How close did you stick to your original plan? Chismar answers this one. It says, not much. Steve knew how the story started and ended, and quite a bit of what came in between. We used those story elements as kind of a roadmap, but we were both flying blind a lot of the time, which is where so much of the fun came in. So it sounds like Richard's just like King, likes to kind of write a little bit more blindly. The book, and then the next question, the book ventures more broadly into the, quote, Stephen King universe with references to places and concept that exist beyond Castle Rock. What inspired you to take that approach? King says, in the previous two, we never really talked about where the button box came from. I thought it over, and the answer seemed obvious. And that's where his answer ends there, so...
All right.
The next question, Gwendy's final task mentions current issues like the pandemic and the 2020 election. Things have changed since you started working on the book. How much revision did you do to take into account new information, the outcome of the election, for example, or the current state of the pandemic? King answers and says, Richard, better take this one. I mean, we knew, Rich, right? About COVID, at least. The election must not have been decided, or am I wrong? And Chismar said, which I just love, King is just like, I don't remember. Richard, you answer that. Then Chismar says, COVID was front and center of our lives at the time we wrote Gwendy's final task, and the virus ended up playing a significant background role in the book, but the election had not yet been decided. Once we finished, we set the manuscript aside for about a month to let it simmer, and when we came back to do the final polish, the election was over, and it was over and in the books, and he says in parentheses, well, at least it was for most folks. Regardless, Trump's departure didn't really have any effect on what we had written. The next question, was there anything one author wrote during the creation of the first draft that took you the other by surprise? And King says, back to Derry? Wow. So, sounds like that was
All right.
Chismar's idea to go to Derry. Chismar says, yeah, that was my doing. All I can say is that once I sat down to write, I felt like a very strong pull of Derry. It's a haunted place where a lot of bad things happen, and I knew it had an important role to play in Gwendy's story. On the flip side of the coin, and then he says an 1891 Morgan silver dollar, of course, if you had told me or if you would have told me a couple years ago that Gwendy Peterson would travel to outer space in order to save the world, I would have thought you were crazy. So, which we heard some of that in some of the teasers that space might be involved. Next up, it says, given the story's unusual primary setting, how much scientific research was required to get the details of that environment right? King says, I looked at a lot of videos. Beyond that, 2 words, Robin Firth. She's terrific, but we got some stuff wrong. Richard remember the shower and the brushing teeth. Haha. In the end, we needed to give the MF station a bit of gravity. And then Chismar says, ditto. Robin is a saint, and she kept us both on our toes and cleaned up some pretty big messes. And I don't know, there's just part of me that's like, Robin's general expertise is the Dark Tower. So that is definitely interesting to me that Robin is brought into this, even though they seem to be alluding to that they were talking to her about space, which I don't know if she's a space expert as much as she is a Dark Tower expert. But definitely perked my ears when I saw that she was being referenced.
Interesting.
And then it says, as you worked on the novel, did you discuss where the book was going, or was it simply a process of passing the manuscript back and forth and giving the other author free reins to do as he liked with the story? And then Chismar says, pretty much total freedom, which made the process all the more challenging and exciting. And this next question is actually one that I found interesting, because I've always wondered, same thing with like the Talisman, is like, how the fuck did 2 people write a book? Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about that?
No,
because I think that whenever I see this, where King, like, oh, he did something with his son, or he did something with, Peter Straub, or in this case Chismar. I'm like, how the fuck did 2 authors write a book? That just seems impossible to me almost. Like, I just don't get it. And then so it says, how did you decide on when it was time to hand the manuscript off to your collaborator? And King says the 50-page rule. Okay. So I'm guessing they just write 50 pages, give it to the next guy, he writes the next 50 pages. I never would have guessed.
It's interesting because there's a game that you do that you start a story. It's kind of like an improv game when you do it in theater. Is you start a story and then the person who's like in charge goes, stop. All right, Tad, you pick up where Peter left off.
Yeah, but writing a novel, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're authors, you can do it. But I've always wondered that. So that's kind of a eureka moment for me to read, because I've wondered that for years. How does an author how do two authors write a book? It just feels to me like a book is kind of a singular force, like a author writes a book. But yeah, that's interesting. Once you finished the first draft, how did you handle revising each other's sections? Chismar says, we actually did a lot of minor revisions and tweaking as we went along. Most of the time when one of us received the new batch of pages, the first thing we did was read and revise. That helped us get back into the flow of the narrative. Then we picked up where the other left off and ran with it. So again, it sounds like not only were they passing each other off every 50 pages, but the next guy would take the previous guy's 50 pages, read through it, do some minor revisions and tweaks, and then do their own. So kind of an interesting process.
Dynamic, yeah. That's awesome.
And then this next one is maybe a tiny bit of a spoiler for this series, a little bit, but it's minor. Richard Ferris is an intriguing figure in these books. The RF initials have historically been associated with the alias of Randall Flagg, that wild card character who has appeared in several other works. Ferris, though, seems to be more benign than the other characters who have shared those initials. Do you see him as another guise of the Dark Man? And King says, I saw him as a force of evil when I first started to write about the box, but in time I realized he was a force of the white, and it was too late to change the initials.
Oh, yeah. See,
Damn.
RF bad.
No, that's
King just said it, dude.
no. He says he saw this what is it, Ferris?
Yeah,
Richard Ferris. He said he saw him as an evil force.
right. But then he realized he's an agent of the white, and he's disappointed that he can't change the initials because the initials are something referencing someone bad.
Yeah, it's just superstition.
Randall Flagg.
That's just superstition.
No.
And then it says, Richard, what was it like to explore the world of Stephen's other well-known cursed city, Derry, and to dabble in the Dark Tower multiverse? So that's an interesting thing to add in the question there.
Dark Tower multiverse.
And he says, amazing, terrifying, dreamlike. I remember walking away from my desk many times thinking, wow, I just spent the afternoon in Derry, Maine. Which that sounds like a fun thing to do.
So cool.
Can you, I mean, if there's anywhere in Stephen King's universe, though, that you would not want to be, wouldn't it be Derry? Would that be top of the list of places not to go?
Yeah, that in Vegas.
Vegas isn't always evil.
In Stephen King's world, it is.
What, does it show up in other books?
Nope. So you're 1 for 1, 100% either going to go to a nuclear wasteland or...
Well, you just got to get out of there quickly, that's all.
Oh, yeah, that's easy to do.
Or just, just trust that Flagg will fix it up and make sure nothing happens.
Yeah, or, crucify me.
It says, is this the end of Gwendy's story, or could she return someday? And then Chismar says, Steve? And that's the end of the interview.
Oh.
I have not had a chance to dive in yet.
I
need
either.
to buy I'm going to buy the first one as just Kindle. It's way too short to buy an audiobook. I think it's only like 3 hours or something. So there's no way I'm spending a credit on something that short. I don't, even if it's Stephen King, I'm not. That's my rules are 10 hours. And every once in a great while, I've broken that rule, but never lower than like an 8 hour. I think like that's probably my hard line. So yeah, I need to do that on that one, and then catch up with the first two books and then dive into this new one. Because it does sound like from our Discord server, it sounds like some people that are reading it are saying there's some good stuff and some titillating Dark Tower connections potentially.
Jeez,
so
you could just get all 3 of them for $50 from Target.
Oh, hard copies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to dive into that, though. But yeah, haven't done it yet. So that is that article, which is fun. Like I said, it's kind of fun to learn how they do that kind of thing when they're teaming up. And I wonder if King's done that with all of his collaborations. And then as well as get a couple teasers there, and I don't know, Bev Vincent doing the interview. That's all kinds of fun. So next up we have odds and ends. The only one I have to announce on this portion, I have a couple Stephen King Uncle Stevie recommends. But on the odds and ends is it was just announced that Stephen King is going to be making an appearance on the Kingcast.
That's awesome.
So be on the lookout for the Kingcast feed for that. They're getting Uncle Stevie on, I think, one of the first podcasts he's ever been on.
That's so
because they did like the Strawberry Springs or whatever thing that's like based on his stories, but like him actually going onto a podcast and being interviewed I don't think that's happened before that I know of. So
that's way cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited to hear that. So congrats to those guys.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear it. So then moving on to Uncle Stevie Recommends, the first one here, the original tweet, somebody tweeted and says, I'll check it out. Have you watched Epic's From? It's interesting. It's an interesting supernatural series. And then King retweeted that and says, I love that show. It's like an R-rated Twilight Zone.
Ooh.
And that's intriguing to me because the
Of
Twilight
course it is.
Zone is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
to see an R-rated version of that is very intriguing. So I might have to check that out while I still have my Epics thing because I have it for Chapelwaite. So got that one. Next up, Stephen King, a book one. King tweeted and says Sundial by Katrina Ward. If you're a thriller fan, a mystery fan, and or a horror fan, do not miss this book, he says in all caps. Authentically terrifying. Publishes next month. So, and that was tweeted on the 23rd, so a couple days ago. So, looks like that'll come out in March. So, if you're a Stephen King fan, you're probably a reader. So, to get him recommending you a book, that's a good one. And then next up, he has one here. Servant, the brainchild of M. Night Shyamalan, is now in its third season on Apple Plus. Can't recommend it strongly enough. Bite-sized episodes, claustrophobic settings, maximum suspense, and cooking, which I don't get.
All right.
But yes, I do still have Apple Plus as well because I don't cancel things quickly enough. But after Ted Lasso, I probably should have just canceled Apple until it started back up again or whatever. But yes. So that is that one. And it looks like I accidentally forgot to do the screen grab of the last one, but he also tweeted one. Ken Follett can't write a bad book, and Never is his best. So that's the title of the book is Never. It's terrifying. I defy anyone to put it down once the last 150 pages are reached.
Oh, wow.
So another one titled Never by Ken Follett. Another recommendation by King. It's been a lot of recommendations.
Yeah.
We have been a bit though because we did do a book club.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute since we've actually done a roundtable. So there was a couple that were backed up, as well as he's just been recommending a lot, which we appreciate because I don't know, it's fun to see what King likes.
See what Uncle Stevie's all about.
Yeah, indeed. So let's go ahead next and
Emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
you know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
Oh man,
Back in the day when we recorded and weren't live, and I thought that I could
get away with
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why you would trust me with a recording.
I don't know why I trust you with anything. I mean, you're coming to be a real burden in my my fear category. You know, find out that I'm like not adverse to monkeys, and all of a sudden you start sending me videos of monkeys, and not a fan of
that.
this.
Was a safe monkey, though.
No, that monkey killed someone and dumped the body.
Yeah, but it was a person trying to steal a car. So
Yeah, but it's still
It
not
means-
funny. It's a monkey.
Oh man, I love it. Let's see anything I missed in the chat here. A little bit of talk about the trailer, and then Agamorphy says, "Wonder if they will also have that sideline character that does something very horrifying with the kitchen sink trash compactor." I don't know. What am I missing on? Are we talking The Shining?
I don't know.
You have to fill us in there, Agamorphy. I'm not catching the reference there. Cody says you guys need to come up with a King streaming list with what to watch and what service it's on, and so that we can hop services to get them all. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Now, in terms of King recommendations or just King's works?
I think just King's works for starters, and then have a second sheet a second tab where it shows the King recommendations.
Yeah, indeed. There's definitely a lot, man. I do find myself when I'm browsing stuff, is I'll always like come across and go, oh, there's that Stephen King thing on this streaming service. Good to know. Every once in a while, I'll add them to my list or whatever, but generally speaking, I'll just be like, oh, that's kind of good to know.
Yeah.
In case I'm ever kind of craving to watch something, like kind of try to keep up with it. So we have the open challenge that we're going to be finishing off with this episode. So we're going to do the mailbag first because we have a couple people that emailed their list for the most beloved characters with some comments. So we want to get through that first. So let's go ahead and dive in here. First of all, we've got Ethan from Tennessee. And I suppose we can change the old cameras there. So,
there we go.
So Ethan from Tennessee writes and says, Heil Gunslingers.
Heil?
This says, I wanted to respond to the 2 challenges in the recent episodes. And then most beloved Dark Tower characters for March Madness. Quartet characters, Oi, Jake, Susanna, Eddie, Cuthbert. Non-Quartet members, Moses Carver, Susan, Shimi, Patrick Danville, Stephen King, Maturin, Irene Tassenbaum, Henchik, Gann, Aunt Talitha, and Ted Brodigan. So
there you go.
Pretty good list there. Although I will say Stephen King is one that also showed up on our most hated.
It is.
So that's fun. And then he says, new Dark Tower books I'd like to see. He says, I love Tad's idea of a book of short stories of Randall Flagg's mischief across time and space. I will say I did steal that original idea. I think I originally heard that. I think it was maybe the Kingcast that mentioned that. So I definitely don't want to take credit for it, but I totally say I'm down for that. You know, I could just just do a black cover, just Stephen King and just pure black, perfect cover for it, for the Man in Black. Wouldn't it be? It's like the Black Album from Metallica. You know,
I guess.
doesn't need a title. You just put it out there, Stephen King, and then pure black. He says, I also think a general book of Dark Tower short stories and novellas would be great, and might include fun background stories about Gilead, Tull, the Wasteland, Lud, Magus, Kala, Maine, New York, and various Earths, Devar Toy, Castle Discordia, Cancon O'Ray, and various characters therein. Maybe even something about the walk-ins in Maine or the Earth where Eddie and Jake are brothers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities for sure.
Oh yeah.
If you were to
many
do that
different
kind of
levels
thing.
of the tower.
Indeed. And Peter would definitely not argue with more Eddie.
No.
And it says, another thing I'd love to see is a sequel series in the vein of what the 2017 movie is trying to do. I actually don't completely hate the movie, although I realize it has a lot of issues. But I love what the movie was trying to do by showing us Roland's next journey. I honestly don't think the Dark Tower works as well on the screen, though Glenn Mazzara maybe could have pulled it off. For me, the Dark Tower's wonderful weirdness will always work best in literary form.
Cody says you should use Vanta Black, the blackest black on the planet.
Oh man, I mean, you can also just do a collector's edition where it's in denim. Denim book cover, you know, with a button on it, the smiley face.
The smiley face. With the bullet hole in the forehead.
But somewhat like the movie, the sequel book series might riff on ideas, characters, and plots from all the previous books in new ways, without simply rehashing what came before. And of course, a new series would most likely have an ending that would please those who didn't like the ending of Book 7. Although for my part, I think Book 7's ended brilliantly in the best and only way possible. I think it has come up on the show before, but this could be a great project for Joe Hill or Owen King. At least if they don't want to forget the face of their father. Well, Joe Hill can't forget the face of his father. He sees it every morning in the mirror.
That's true.
And then he says, I look forward to the March Madness and more great episodes. Take care, Ethan from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, Ethan. So his is more about the overall, Cody, Blue Chambray.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that too. I mean, I'm talking flag. For flag, you got to go the denim. But yes.
A denim jacket.
But the Blue Chambray could be for just a normal Stephen King short story thing with engineer boots. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Definitely some of the King tropes there. So next up, Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania, Heil Tad. And I'm guessing Peter, because he left you off there.
Oh.
I think it's probably because he actually does direct some stuff at me here when it comes to his list. Here are my top 5 for you to tally, and I guess that's why it's to me, because we did say send it to me so I can tally up the top 16 for our bracket.
See how it is.
And he says number 1, Randall Flagg / the Man in Black / Walter O'Dim / Martin Broadcloak / he who put too much faith in fancy hats, that's great. I like that reference.
He says he doesn't think you were going to read it.
He says, no, I'm not messing with Peter. I'm completely serious about this. There are many beloved characters who are evil / bad guys. Magneto, and he's just speaking my language here. Magneto, Boba Fett, Darth Vader, Hannibal Lecter, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and he says in parentheses, I have kids. I don't know what that is.
It's oh shit.
Phineas
and Ferb.
It's a funny name. It's a funny name, Doofenshmirtz. It's a fun name.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Severus Snape, Cobra Commander, Thanos, Megatron, Senator, Chancellor, Emperor Palpatine. He's a good man, that Palpatine.
I am the Senate.
Wreck-It Ralph. I thought that was the good guy.
No, Fix-It Felix is the good guy.
What? How does the bad guy get the name of the movie?
Yeah, exactly. You need to go watch it, you son of a
What the
bitch.
hell? Mr. Burns, he's a great character. Walter White, Q, which, dude, I am so excited to see Q in the new Picard here starting in the next, I think it's in the next week or so.
Yeah.
I think it's early March. So the return of Q is great because Q is one of the all-time favorite Star Trek characters for me.
Yeah.
He's very Loki-esque. If you haven't seen Star Trek,
Yeah.
The Next Generation, the Joker, another good man there. Every character in a Fallout game, so I guess they're all bad guys in that.
Oh
game.
yeah, they're vile.
Loki, and then he says the Terminator from Terminator 2, which I don't think that counts as a bad guy. He's a good guy in Terminator 2.
There's another Terminator in
That's
Terminator
the
2.
T-1000 though.
What does the T stand for, Tad? It's a Terminator.
The Terminator is Arnold though.
No.
Terminator's always Arnold.
There's more than one Terminator. Also, we have Arnold on Arnold action in the second newest movie. So,
what?
the one with Daenerys, Amelia Clark.
Oh yeah,
Arnold
yeah.
kills Arnold.
No, that was the last movie.
No, there's another movie after that.
No,
Yeah.
that's the last one that came out. I think.
No, I haven't seen the last one that came out. That's how I know this.
I think that was the last one.
No, the one with Amelia Clark is where Arnold kills Arnold.
Yeah, thought that was the last one. I don't know if
No.
there's been another one.
Yeah, there is. There's the one with it's a guy Terminator, and it's a chick that's defending the kid, and Sarah Connor comes back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
like Linda Hamilton comes back into the series.
Yeah, that's right.
The one where Arnold kills Arnold is the one before that with Amelia Clark playing Sarah Connor.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. And he says you're only the bad guy if your side loses.
The history is written by the winners.
And then he says, Tad, and in all caps, Tad, I trust you to do the right thing and put Rattle Flag in. And I don't think there's any debate about that. Peter gave me some shit off air when we first talked about this because I'm like, Flag's going to make it on this list. And I didn't even put my finger on the scale here. I did it 100% by how people nominated here. So trust me, it ultimately came down to the voters, not me.
Sure,
But yes, of course, one of my votes was certainly Randall Flagg because he is one of the most beloved. Number 2, Detta Walker. And he says, I love the sass. She's a survivor, and you need to be a survivor in Roland's level of the tower. Yeah, Detta's awesome. And not only mentioned here. So, I love it. Number 3, Roland Deschain. He says it would be a short saga without him. LOL.
It's true.
It's true.
Considering he's the good guy of the story.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
Number 4, Eddie Dean. I love that smart ass. And he says in parentheses, I may or may not be a smart ass. You get 3 guesses. And then number 5, Court Andrus. Says Court is one of my favorites, maybe third behind the Man in Black and Roland. He's a mix of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, Hermit Yoda, and Pai Mei. And for the whole saga, he's been dead for a long time. You can't beat a character who has such a big impact on the main character, but has been dead for a long time, which is true. I mean, he's pretty. I mean, he's very minimal when you actually look at his overall presence there, but his impact is pretty large.
Yeah.
Then he says, keep up the good work. If the spacing gets blown out, sorry, I was having issues with Outlook. And it signs Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania. So, I can't disagree with Flagg and, Detta Walker as much as you might disagree. So, those are the emails that we have for this that lead us into the Palaver section where we're going to talk about the March Madness, which is going to be coming up here very shortly. We kind of teased at the top of the show. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes here. So first of all, I wanted to...
Cameras.
Oh, yeah. That would... Let's go ahead and... I guess we're still going to kind of block some stuff, though. So I'm going to have to take us off altogether for a second.
Just for a little bit.
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to recap the 2020 or 2019 most hated characters.
What the hell, Tad?
What?
You put most beloved for Rhea of the Coos.
Oh, shit.
You son of a bitch!
That wasn't purposeful. I had built the one for the actual upcoming one,
Yeah.
and then I thought, I'm like, I'll just duplicate it. I'll just change it.
Yeah.
And I actually almost missed the title. I almost missed the title too, and I was like, literally, one of my last things I do
Wow.
after my prep is I go through all the slides, and I noticed the title. So
I'm so upset right now that I'm not on camera. Like that you missed that. You missed that.
You're on camera.
You missed that. My reaction to getting where it says Dark Tower Palaver, most beloved Rhea of the Coos. You son of a bitch. I can't believe you did that to me.
Oh, I didn't do it on purpose. I wish I had. I wish I had.
I can't believe you. Wow. For shame. Hashtag Tad is terrible. This is the most deserved hashtag Tad is terrible that you've ever gotten.
Oh, man. You haven't been this worked up in a while.
Wow. I want you to change it now.
I can't.
Fix it.
I can't. We're on air.
Oh.
All right, take us back off here. So yeah, in 2019 we did most hated characters.
This is disgusting.
And then so we ended up having Sylvia Pittston and Rhea. Rhea ends up winning the whole thing. So yeah, you can kind of see her along the top there, winning every matchup. She beat Sylvia Pittston. She beat Calvin Tower. She beat Gasher. And then you had Calvin Tower, Benny Slightman Jr., Mia, Blaine the Mono, Gasher, Jack Mort, Benny Slightman Sr., Mordred, Mayor Thorin, Stephen King, Crimson King, Andrew Quick, Andy the Robot, and Cordelia Delgado. Cordelia made short work of everyone. Andy the Robot, the Crimson King, and Mordred, which was actually probably one of the more heated votes, was Cordelia versus Mordred.
Yeah, that still shocks me that Cordelia won.
Yeah, because Mordred did pretty well too. Beat Benny Slightman, beat Mayor Thorin. I actually I was debating in my mind. I figured it'd be Rhea, Cordelia, or Mordred would be like our one of those ones would win. So I definitely wasn't disappointed with how it turned out. And not that I really cared, but it was more just like predicting.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would mention though, look at that list, man. Mayor Thorin, Cordelia, and then Rhea. Three of the most hated characters are all in one book, including the two most hated characters. Rhea, and then the follow-up or the runner-up was Cordelia. Both of those being in the same one. That's
you got Blaine, Gasher, and Andrew Quick from book 3. Mordred, would you say book 7?
Yeah.
Mordred, book 7. Stephen King, book 6, 7.
6 and 7.
Crimson King, book 7.
I guess Andy the Robot too.
You got Andy the Robot, Ben Slightman.
Both Ben Slightmans.
Both Ben Slightmans in which again, how did Ben Slightman Jr. end up on the list?
I don't know.
Get it.
That one was we'll pop us back on the screen here. Honestly, we didn't have as much input on this one. I honestly think that almost everyone that nominated anyone, those people got put on. I will say too that we ended up going more than 16 as well. If you notice that we had kind of like quote unquote like buys, like Rhea of the Coos. Sorry, no, not here. It doesn't show it, but on our original one, there was actually one other further round, and like Rhea the Coos, for instance, wasn't in that first round. So all I did is I chopped that last one off to fit it onto this bracket. But yeah, ultimately, last one didn't have as much input, so it came down to almost everyone that was nominated got put on. Some of them I disagreed with. I couldn't see how Benny Slightman Jr. got put on there. Stephen King, I can kind of see.
Agamorphy says Junior should not have been listed. He was totally innocent. I'm with him on that, but
yeah,
I mean, if he rubbed someone the wrong way, then
they got on there.
That's the thing with this is how people feel about the character, not are they good or are they bad kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately, Mayor Thorin, I mean, he's not necessarily a bad guy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
well, he does some bad things.
He's pretty bad. I mean, also Blaine is such an innocent character. I don't know why he would get on here as well. I mean, he's
trying to kill everyone.
Everyone loves Blaine, right?
No, I love Eddie's kicking Blaine's ass. I mean,
so yeah, that was our most hated. We did that in 2019. It was a lot of fun. So we decided tail end of last year that we wanted to kind of do the same thing-ish, but this time obviously we would do the reverse and do most beloved, which is why I don't know how I missed. Again, I don't think I thought enough about it to actually change everything, because also the title was wrong originally, and literally as I was going through and just kind of proofing it, because I noticed it was formatted the exact same. So when I change it in the title, you could just see sometimes when the text changes, and when the text didn't change at all in the title, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't change the title.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I just moved on. I didn't think to look down at the bottom there. So, but because of your reaction, I'm very glad that I overlooked it, because it was worth it, honestly.
I hate it so much.
Let's leave it on the screen for just another couple seconds.
Get it off of here.
So let's go ahead and take us off the screen again as we move over to take a look at the new bracket. First of all, let's go through it real quick. So in the first round is all we have so far. We basically ended up having we had 5, really heavy hitters when it came to vote getters. And so I kind of put them all in each four corners. There was one that ended up, we obviously couldn't, because basically what we want to avoid is we don't want to see like Oi versus Cuthbert in the first round.
Right.
So you put them on the four corners to kind of keep them away from each other. And the heaviest vote getters were Cuthbert, Oi, Eddie, Susanna, and then I think Roland was the fifth one. And Peter and I discussed it and decided to keep let Roland be the one that got thrown, because then what we did is everybody outside of those four we put into a list, randomized it, and I literally just plugged them in that randomized order to come up with the showdowns.
Yeah.
So yeah. In the first round, it'll be Cuthbert versus Cuthbert Allgood versus Shimi Ruiz, and Shimi got a lot more votes than I expected. Not that I dislike him, I didn't expect him to get as many votes as he got, but he definitely had a lot. And Moses Carver versus Randall Flagg. That's a tough one.
Go Moses.
John Cullum versus Detta Walker. What do you think there, Peter?
I mean, I get it. I like Detta too.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Irene Tassenbaum versus Oi the Brave.
Dude, Irene's awesome.
Irene
She's
is
going
awesome.
down. I mean, sorry, I'm not going to try and influence anyone's vote.
Yeah, it's not the influence votes. It's predictions, right?
Yeah.
It's just predictions. Eddie Dean versus Ted Brodigan.
Nice seeing you, Ted. Bye.
Jake Chambers versus Aunt Talitha.
Dude, that's Jake's
Jake
a
just
heavy
barely.
hitter.
He is a heavy hitter, but
to not be in one of the four corners is interesting.
Yeah, he fell a little bit short of Roland and the rest of them here. And then Roland Deschain versus Father Callahan.
That's a heavyweight matchup.
That's a big one because, again, I knew Roland to be a heavy hitter and Father Callahan as well.
And then the matchup of the first round, the one that Tad and I both called out when we were talking about.
It's like when
this.
you're looking over the bracket every once in a while, there's just one that jumps out at you. You're like, ooh, look at that one. And that one is Susanna Dean versus Susan Delgado.
Yeah.
So that is probably the two primary female characters going against you. And again, that is 100% randomized on that, except for the corners. But yeah, the top vote getters are, and I can pull us back up on the screen here. Okay, there we go. So we're back on here. So that is basically Cuthbert and Oi are tied at number one vote wise. Those guys both got 8 nominations.
Okay.
Eddie, Roland, and Susanna got 7. So that's where the tie came in with why we dropped Roland out of from being the four corners. And then Jake came in with 6 next. And then Susanna with 5. Then Aunt Talitha, Moses Carver, Shimi Ruiz, Ted Brodigan all had 4. And then we had Randall Flagg, Detta Walker, Father Callahan, Irene Tassenbaum, and John Cullum each had 3. Mm-hmm. And then I will say that there was a little bit of what do you call it? Decision for me, because there was actually one more with 3. So it came down to where the line got drawn, and Court was the 3 that missed the bracket. So he had 3, and then everybody else had either 2 or 1, which is Alan Johns with 2, Tian Jaffords with 2, Tim Rose with 2, Aaron Deepno, Andy the Robot, Benny Slightman, Jr., Gann, Henchick, Matrin, Patrick Danville, and Stephen King all with 1. So that's kind of how it all broke down with the nominations wise. And then, so that is our bracket. And what we will do is I will throw this up on the screen next. The first round will be March 1st through March 8th.
Okay.
The second round, March 9th through March 16th. And the final 4 will be the 17th through the 24th. And then the finals will be March 25th through the 31st.
Were we allowed to say Final Fours? Is that copyrighted? Are we going to get sued?
Want to get sued? We'll change it to Fin 4.
Fin 4.
Like the French thing, Fin.
Fin.
So that's the breakdown. So keep an eye on our social media and stuff, as well as because actually it'll have to be social media, because the only thing I haven't figured out yet is how we're going to do the voting. Last time we did it on the website. I'm kind of debating our heaviest, we had some emails, but our heaviest input for most of the input came from Twitter.
There you go.
Kind of thinking about maybe just doing it on Twitter with Twitter polls, but I may look into doing it on our website as well. That's the only thing I still need to resolve, is how we're going to do the actual voting. But yeah, we'll just kind of go through it.
Couple suggestions in the chat for how we can avoid getting sued.
The Cotet 4, the FF,
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, is Final 4, is that?
I think it actually is trademarked by
Really?
the NCAA.
That seems like a kind of a general term
Yeah.
to me. I don't know. Well, I didn't put Super Bowl as our finals, so I guess we're safe a little bit from lawsuits.
Furthermore, the term Final Four is a federally registered trademark.
Shit. Well, I mean, it is what it is, and maybe we're not the Final Four though. We're just
there we go.
We'll just put a Final Four.
Final Four.
So yeah, that's how we'll end up with the voting. But yeah, keep an eye on the social media. I'll make it clear here in the next week or less than a week because we have until the 1st to go.
Yeah.
But I'll figure out how we're going to do it votes wise, where we're going to do the voting at. But I do want to try to get as much. As many votes as we can. So
Sure.
I'll let everyone know here shortly on the social media.
Murphy just pointed out that he doesn't do Twitter, so that's
Okay,
something to...
I might do it on the website and then just link it to the Twitter. The only thing I worry about is on the we didn't get as many nominations last time either. So maybe there's more people listening now than in 2019 because we just didn't get as many votes in 2019 as I was hoping we might get. But maybe I'll just do it on the website and then just link it to all of our social medias to get everyone over to the things. But that's what we'll have it though is the dates wise 1st through the 8th, 9th to the 16th, 17th to the 24th. Now the only thing that I was thinking about is technically with the way that the numbering's worked out, the finals actually has one less day, but I'm like, I don't know if we could really end it on April 1st. I think that might be a little bit suspicious.
I think the tournament for March Madness goes well into April.
I know, but for us though,
do
you want it to end on April 1st?
It's a matter for you
No,
that it has to be in March.
No, not that. It's just the April 1st. It's April Fool's, for God's sake. You can't trust the internet on that day.
That's true.
So I didn't want the voting to go on April 1st just because there's so much madness on that day. So I didn't want to.
I think March Madness is trademarked as well.
Yeah. Hell with them. So that's our list, and that is the dates. I'll have all that in the show notes for anyone that's listening on the podcast. If you want to go and take a look at a screen grab of the bracket as well as our schedule, I'll have that up there, and be ready for links to the voting. I might look and see if there's maybe even like a place I can set up voting, whatever, if I can. Either way, links will be on all of our social media. So yeah, Facebook, Twitter. I'll try to find some way to do it on Instagram. Instagram's tough because I don't know if you could do links very well. I always see on Instagram people doing like their link. They always have to put their link in the bio or whatever instead of like on the post. So that's annoying. But but keep an eye on the social media and be ready for voting here in a few days. It'll be the Tuesday the 1st is when the first round will start, which is what we're seeing on the screen right now. So any predictions, sir?
Flag gets knocked out in the first round.
Oh, wow.
No, that's my wish. I know he's not, because everyone's going to vote for him just to stick a knife in my ribs.
The thing is that I'm intrigued about is I feel like with the most hated, there was like 3 heavy hitters. I feel like with this one, there's like 4 to 5 heavy hitters.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued how this one's going to go out because I feel like the last one I was like the final 4 or the final 2, it was going to come down to like Rhea, Cordelia, and Mordred. In my mind, it just seemed like it was going to be one variation of those 3 people. This one I can see Cuthbert, Oi, Eddie, Susanna, Roland, and Jake. I could see all of those potentially being ones that could make their way to the finals. So I'm quite intrigued to see how this is going to play out. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna kind of predict. I think Oi might be the Rhea that for this one. I think he might be unbeatable in my mind.
Oi is the best.
Yeah, and I had to put Oi the Brave, because Oi was just too short. I just wanted to throw. You got to
put his full name.
Yeah, so that I don't know. I'm not trying to influence votes. I'm just looking at the way. Also, I mean, dude, there were some people that literally they only nominated one person. It was Oi. So I'm just like, there's just part of me that thinks that Oi is going to be a hard one to beat in this contest, which is fine. There could be surprises. We'll see.
There's always upsets.
Like maybe Flag gets there and upsets Oi in the final 4.
Flag's got to get past Cuthbert.
Yeah, I mean, Flag's hard to stop, sir.
Flag's the worst.
So that's our March Madness thing. We'll have that starting here soon. So be ready for that. And throw out your predictions too if you get what you guys think in the chat and everywhere else. But that is. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this all pans out. So we got that. So we will be joining in on the 12th for our next roundtable, which would be right in the middle of the second round. So we'll have some updates.
So we'll have
there.
reaction for round 1 and look at the bracket for how round 2 is looking.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have our book club is on the 26th, so it'll be right as the finals have started.
So we're not going to talk about it.
That's gonna be tough. In the spoiler section, we could.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what we'll do is tune into the spoiler section of the book club, and we'll talk about
that book club on the 26th.
The results of round 3 and
Yeah.
what the final the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the results of the final 4 were, and then the 2 that are heading up.
The 2,
head.
exactly.
We'll
exactly.
have to do a little bit extra long spoiler section.
And then the roundtable 119, which that's a fun number. On April 9th, we'll be able to recap
19?
the final.
19 is the recapping the final. That fits.
119, but yes.
It's still 19.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and again, that'll also be the episode that we're going to be diving back into the Marvel comics. That should be fun. Again, speaking of Rhea of the Coos, we'll see seeing her there in the comics.
So gross. I hate it so much.
It was such like, what is it Bob Ross said, the happy accident of forgetting to change that thing from most beloved to most hated. So we got most beloved saying Rhea of the Coos. Let's go ahead and go back to that real quick. Let's just throw that up on the screen there as we
I hate you. This is what he does.
I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, I'm certainly glad that I did. But that is that is pretty much it for this episode. It's a little bit shorter than we've generally been. Our episodes have been getting longer as time's gone by.
Yeah.
We used to be around an hour 45 to 2 hours ish, but recently they've definitely ballooned to 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this one, I there was a couple things I left off because I wasn't sure how long some of the discussion would go, and I don't know. We could save some there. I mean, none of it was like huge news. There was just some fun little articles that are kind of timeless that you could cover next time. So, let's go ahead and hit up the closing information real quick. So if you guys want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. If you want to check out all the stuff like for this March Madness thing coming up, check out the show notes. I'll have screen grabs of all the stuff that people on the YouTube were seeing on the screen. As well as keep an eye on our social media, because we will let you guys know how voting is going to go, and we'll also make sure that once all that's tied down and I know exactly how we're going to be doing the actual voting, I'll make sure that links are put out there at the start of every round, so you can go on our social media and find links to go and do your voting and help us out. Figure out who is the most beloved. And also, if you want to tweet at us, whatever, send stuff to us on Facebook, Twitter, wherever, and let us know your predictions. What are your guys' predictions on who's going to be the most beloved? Peter's saying he thinks that Flag will go down. Oh, he's hoping the Flag will go down in the first round.
Hoping Flag will go down. He's like the Duke of the March Madness.
Now, here's the question we'll have to have in the back of our minds going forward before I send it over to you to give us the social media stuff is if we do a March Madness in 2023, what would we do next? Most beloved, most hated. Those are easy to come up with. Like, where we go from there would be an interesting thing.
That would be an interesting one.
What would be?
If anyone has any ideas, shoot them to us. Best way you can send us those ideas is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Check out our shows. We're here on YouTube. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. I forgot to mention in the opening, like the videos, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications for when we're going live. Also, when we post new content, because we do have stuff coming exclusively to YouTube now. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @DarkTowerPod. That's at DarkTowerPod. And then our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/DarkTowerPalaver.
You know, one thing. Imagine a little YouTube shorts where we recap the bracket.
We had some crazy, doing like sports, like a sports show.
I'm thinking of the Dan Patrick scene from Basketball, where they're talking about the playoff things, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Basketball is a modern classic. It's such a great movie, man.
It's a hidden gem.
It really is. Even if you're not into the South Park guys, because they're in it, but they're not. It's not like they didn't write it. It's actually David Zucker that wrote it. So the guy that did like Airplane and stuff did the writing of basketball.
Yeah.
So highly recommend it. Really fun. If you're a sports fan especially, I don't know how, but they've got like real people like Dan Patrick and like Al Michaels and not Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels and I'm blanking on the other guy's name that did the other announcer in basketball.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
But like legendary broadcasters that somehow they got into this movie, and they make some pretty crazy jokes and then they got like Dale Earnhardt and a bunch of other cameos. So
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, great movie. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close up shop of this episode, and we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, thank you guys in the chat for joining us. It's always fun. Sorry I didn't have the cameras on when Peter realized. I mean, if I would have known, if that would have been planned, I certainly would have had. I would have made Peter full screen as that came on, but I legitimately did not realize that I messed that up.
You're such a monster.
I didn't do it on purpose.
It doesn't matter. You're still a monster.
I wish that I had, but yes, I wish I had done it on purpose, because I would have put you like on full screen, and it would have been like all anyone could see is you as you realize that it was happening there. So
Well, they wouldn't be able to see the brackets. So.
no, I know, but they don't need to see that. They can see the bracket after you've after you've blown a gasket and freaked out that. As we can still see on the screen here, DTP's most beloved Rio of the Goose, as someone's probably going to screen grab that and,
Put it on a shirt and send it to me.
that's a good idea. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. It's always fun to have you guys listening along, chatting along, and being part of the shows. And yeah, we'll be back in a fortnight for another episode, another roundtable. And then, we will, we'll recap what we learned in round 1 of the brackets, as well as do the Dark Tower comics. And I'm sure whatever news will break between now and then, because it seems like there's always stuff going on in the King universe. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys in a fortnight.
Bye, everyone.